Good evening, everyone. How are you, Kevin? Before we get started, this is the South Kingstown Zoning Board of Review. We are, one of the petitions was withdrawn. It was the 81 Winchester Drive, so if anybody is here for that, it was a second one on the agenda. It was withdrawn because we discovered that they did not need a variance for the project. So, just to let you know that. We're going to also do our best to kind of get through everything tonight. We expect to. So just kind of keep an eye on how everything's going, and if you're last, we'll try to let you know before that hits, because we're not going to be able to meet next week. It wouldn't be until next month. So we're going to do our best to get through everything tonight. My name is Robert Cagnetta. I am the chair of the South Kingstown Zoning Board of Review. Members that are present tonight are Mr. Brown, Mr. Rosen, myself, Mr. Daniels, Ms. Walsh, and Mr. Diamond. Also present are Jamie Gorman, our South Kingstown Zoning Building Official, Amy Goins, our Special Legal Counsel, and Jessica Spence, the Administrative Support Associate. This board is made up of 7 people. 5 of us are regular members, voting members, and 5 members are required to be present to vote. In the event one of the 5 regular members is not present, an alternate will step in. Tonight, the voting members will be Mr. Brown, Mr. Rosen, myself, Mr. Daniels, and Ms. Walsh. Applicants are here either for a variance, dimensional use, or to seek a special use permit. This board is a quasi-judicial body created by the South Kingstown Ordinance pursuant to state statutes. We don't follow strict rules of evidence, and we operate in what we believe to be in a fair and equitable manner. We try to let everyone speak, unless you get a little carried away. So in the best interest of time, just try to be brief and on point. When your petition is called, please come forward and clearly state your name and then spell it for the record. Speak clearly into the microphone so everyone in here can hear you, as well as, are we live tonight as well? So the folks at home can hear you as well. You will also be asked to take an oath to tell the truth, and you will then present your petition. You may also have other witnesses testify in support of your petition. The board will ask questions of you and your witnesses. After the petitioner has presented their petition, anyone else with questions or in regards to the petition or wanting to present testimony either in support or opposition of the petition will then be asked to step forward, identify themselves, be sworn in, and present their testimony. The board may ask questions of these witnesses, and once you've spoken, the petitioner will then be allowed to answer questions raised by the audience or respond to the audience comments. So when you're up there, just direct all the questions to us, and then we'll sort of shoot them back at the petitioner as needed. After hearing all the testimony, before a vote is taken, the board members will be asked to openly discuss the evidence presented. With regards to variances to special use permits, 4 of the 5 voting members must vote in favor of the petition for the relief sought to be granted. Now, just to let you know that we will ask a lot of questions, and there's a good reason for it. If we can't sort of just pick and choose what we want. This is the zoning ordinances that we have to go by. So we're going to ask a lot of questions just to make sure that we feel that it fits within our ordinances. So you have to give us certain testimony, and we have to find certain facts. So tonight we do have mostly dimensional variances. I believe we have 1 special use permit on the agenda. For a variance, you must offer the following: that your hardship is due to the unique characteristics of the subject land or structure and is not due to the general characteristics of the surrounding area. Your hardship is not the result of any prior action on your part. That the granting of the variance will not alter the general character of the surrounding area. And that the relief requested is the least relief necessary. And then you must also show that the hardship that will be suffered if the variance is not granted will amount to more than a mere inconvenience. For a special use permit, you must present the following: that what you're asking for is specifically authorized by the zoning ordinance. So somewhere in the ordinance it has to be authorized, or we do not have the power to grant it. and then that your special use permit requests meets all the criteria set forth in the zoning ordinance authorized for such special use. And then also that the granting of the special use will not alter the general characteristic of the surrounding area or impact the purpose or intent of the ordinance. So we try to be out of here or have our last petition by 10 o'clock. And is there anything else that we need to cover? Okay. So the first petition tonight is for 49 Sheldon Point. And this is the continuation of the petition of David Guadagnoli. 49 Sheldon Point Road, Wakefield, Rhode Island, 02879 for a dimensional variance under the zoning ordinance as follows. The applicant is seeking to replace the existing 573 square foot attached deck and stairs to grade in the same location. The deck will be located 15 feet from the property line. The required front yard setback is 25 feet, and they're asking for a 10-foot relief. The deck will be located 10 feet from the northerly side property line. The required side yard setback is 20 feet. Relief of 10 feet is requested. The lot size is 0.25 acres. The dimensional variance is required per our zoning ordinance, section 207, non-conforming lots of record, building setback requirements, and section 907, standards of relief. The owners of the property are David and Eileen T. Guadagnoli for a premises located at 49 Sheldon Point Road, South Kingstown, Assessors Map 87-2, Lot 135, and is zoned R80. Who is here tonight? So come on up. Tell us your name. But before you do that, let me just read in what we have here for documents. We have the application with the cover letter signed and dated April 14th, 2022. We have the owner authorization form signed and notarized April 14th, 2022. Site plan, which is one page, prepared by Japrit Engineering, Michael E. Gavitt, PLS, and dated August 24th, 2020. We have a 200-foot radius map and a butters list, legal notice, proof of certified mailings, notarized affidavit of mailing and memorandum to the neighbors dated May 5th, 2022. And who are you guys?
I'm David Guadagnoli. Did a great job on the name.
Sorry, well, Cagnetta, really, but it's I knew that much.
And this is my contractor, Ralph Balsamo.
Okay, and could you guys spell your name for me, please?
Or it's David Guadagnoli.
Okay.
And Ralph Balmaso. Samo.
You guys both swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
We do. I do.
Tell us what you want to do.
Basically, he has a deck, an existing deck, that is rotting from the underneath up, and you can't walk on it. So he's asking to remove the existing framing and replace it with new framing, not changing any layout whatsoever, so that he can use it. That's it.
Sitting on the same footprint, not getting any bigger?
Same exact footprint.
Same exact footprint.
Remove the decking and joists.
Yep.
Repair some steel that's rotted. Put in new joist and decking and...
Stairs, same location?
Same location.
Okay. And they have to do it just because the current one is... So, okay, yeah, so if they're replacing existing, they still would have to.
Yeah, the current one is unsafe.
Yeah, correct, Mr. Chairman. So if it'd be allowed as of right to rebuild, if it were destroyed by an accident or act of God, but if it doesn't comply with the setbacks, then they would need the dimensional variance.
Okay. So we're going in the same spot.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else to add?
That's it.
No. Board members, questions? No? Everybody okay? Anyone in the audience want to speak on behalf of this petition? No? Easy enough? Do we have to go around the room, or are we pretty comfortable with this? Okay. Someone want to give it a shot? Mr. Daniels.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Motion to approve the petition of David Guadagnoli, 49 Sheldon Point Road. Property is located at that address. The petition and the documents were read into the record by the chairman. This is a proposal to, I should say, that Mr. Guagnoli appeared and testified on his behalf, and Mr. Balsano, okay, also appeared and testified on behalf of the applicant. This is a request to replace an existing deck, and according to Section 207, non-conforming lots of record, a variance is required. The deck is 15 feet from the front property line, therefore relief at 10 feet is requested, and side yard relief of 10 feet is requested. Once again, there'll be no increase in the square footage of the deck. It's a straight-out replacement. The board finds that the hardship from which the applicant seeks relief is due to the unique characteristics of the subject land or structure in this case, because the old deck is rotted framing and needs a total replacement. The board finds that the hardship is not a result of any prior action of the applicant and does not result primarily from the desire of the applicant to realize greater financial gain, because once again it's a straight replacement, increase the value of the living conditions of the home, and make it better for use for Mr. Guagnoli and his family. It certainly will not alter, the board finds that the requested variance will not alter the general character of the surrounding area, because once again the deck exists, and this is a straightforward replacement. This is the least relief necessary, once again, because it is a total replacement. We're not expanding in any one direction at all, and we're just doing a straight-up replacement. And if the board did not grant this variance to the subject property, this would amount to more than a mere inconvenience, because he's lived with a deck all these years, and certainly to take that away and not have it, not be able to have that deck, would alter the living conditions within the home. There is no conditions on this approval, and therefore I recommend passage.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Rosen. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Daniels? Aye. Mr. Rosen?
Aye.
Ms. Walsh?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Cagnetta? Aye. Motion passes.
Awesome.
Good luck.
Thank you, board.
Thank you.
Let's make them all that easy.
And of course, I just lost my place. Do you have the agenda right in front of you? As part of that? I'll find my place again. We're going to have the petition of Margaret Mueller, 82 Maple Drive, Wakefield, Rhode Island, 02879, for a dimensional variance under the zoning ordinance as follows. The applicant is seeking to demolish the existing attached garage and construct a larger garage with habitable space above. The garage will be located 33 feet from the property line. The required front yard setback is 40 feet. Relief of 7 feet is requested. Lot size is 0.69 acres. Dimensional variance is required per zoning ordinance section 207, non-conforming lots of record, building setback requirements, and section 907 are standards of relief. The owner of the property is Margaret P. Mueller for premises located at 82 Maple Drive, South Kingstown, Assessors Map 90-1, Lot 11, and is zoned R80. For this petition, thank you. We have the application with the Exhibit A, signed and dated April 27th of this year. Owner authorized form, signed and dated, notarized April 27th. This year, existing conditions photographs, number 1. Existing first and second floor plans, number 2 and number 3. Proposed first and second floor plans, number 4 and 5. And proposed exterior views, number 6. Rhode Island DEM OWTS Certificate of Conformance, 3 pages, dated June 11th, 1999. Existing plot plan, 1 page, and proposed plot plan, 1 page. Prepared by Dowdell Engineering Associates, LLC, Richard Cushan, PLS, and dated December 3rd, 2021. We have a 200-foot radius map and a butters list, legal notice, proof of certified mailings, and notarized affidavit of mailing. We have some supplemental materials, 7 photographs, I believe that came in recently, and then the vision appraisal card of 71 Maple Drive. Of that, we also have 3 correspondences from Mr. Poppy. Is that how we said it? Ron Poppy of 71 Maple Drive, dated June 2nd, June 5th, and June 8th of this year. Who's here tonight for this?
If it please the chairman and members of the board, Attorney Keith Kyle on behalf of Margaret Muller. As you noted, we're seeking a 7. Well, when it's your turn, Mr. Morrissey. We're seeking a 7-foot dimensional variance from the 40-foot front yard setback as required by Section 207 and 907 of the ordinance. We have one witness to testify, Mr. Stephen T. Morrissey, who is the significant other of Ms. Muller and who's intimately involved in this project. Ms. Muller is here tonight if you want to ask her any questions regarding this. Thank you for noting those exhibits. I'm not sure what the procedure here is in South Kingstown, but I would like that all of those exhibits be made part of the record.
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Yeah, they are labeled, or do we still label them by their...
I've added them as supplemental material, but I can label them exhibits 1 through 8 if you'd like.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
Thank you. I would like to note, too, just at the outset, before I have you swear in, Mr. Morrissey, is that I did review those 3 correspondences from Mr. Poppy, and I do not believe that he's here in the audience, and I do take issue with people filing documents such as that, not showing up here and depriving my client of his due process rights to cross-examine him on those things. So I'm sure the board will give it whatever weight it's worth, but I just want to make that note for the record.
There's only a couple questions maybe that might come up, but we'll see.
I'm sure
how you
Mr.
guys...
Morrissey can fill you in on the historical situation down there in Green Hill.
I doubt you have a well from 1890, but we'll find out.
I hope not.
Yeah, no, it's the interesting water.
All right. So I have Mr. Morrissey, if you want to swear him into testimony.
Okay. Could you please spell your name for us, please?
Stephen with a P-H, T is Thomas Morrissey, M-O-R-R-I-S-S-I-S-S-E-Y.
Great. And you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. So please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Chairman. Mr. Morrissey, this is a single-family home located at that location, and it's occupied by you and Ms. Muller. Is that correct?
Dr. Muller.
Dr. Muller. And how long have you owned the property?
I believe Dr. Muller bought from the estate of Bernard Poppy about 4 years ago.
All right. And the current use is a permitted use in the R80 zone, correct?
Correct, single family.
All right. And you're also very familiar with this particular area because your family grew up at 38 Beach Street in Green Hill, correct?
I grew up since 1959 at lot 90-1, lot 180, which is just around the corner, approximately 4 houses from Mr. Poppy's house. And I live by Mr. Poppy and Bernard Poppy.
And before I get into some of the substance of this, is there anything about the proposed changes that you're seeking in this application that would adversely affect the character of the surrounding area?
No, it's a unique area. It is, at that point, Maple Drive goes from a little bit of tar down to dirt.
Mr. Morrissey, could you speak into the...
Yes.
No, sorry about that.
We, in terms of history, again, I grew up there since 1958. I moved down this way full-time in the 70s. I owned 57 Columbia. I owned the John H. Brown Market at 220 Columbia. I owned a house out on Ministerial, all of which I've disposed of or gifted to my ex-wife. And at this point, this is our primary residence. And again, I grew up down there. The house a lot of the houses are older than the code, and so some of those have, I guess you would call them permitted uses before or permitted dimensional vagaries that were acceptable at that time, which are clearly not under today's code.
All right, and basically you're seeking to reconstruct the existing garage, and to do that you require an additional 7 feet, correct?
That is correct.
And as you'll explain to the board, that's to make the garage usable, safe, and to allow for an improved entrance to the home, because that's the front of the home as well,
there's
correct?
three essential problems.
All right, and so the garage and entrance in its present condition and location preceded your acquisition of the property, correct?
That is correct. We did not create any of those.
All right, so can you, Madam Clerk, I think you said if we need to refer to the exhibits, that you can put them up. They may, if it's of any assistance to the board, but.
We got them, yeah. I've got them. The dog comes with it.
No, the dog was definitely curious.
The problem representing a lawyer. So can you explain to the board why keeping the garage and the main entrance as it's currently configured is not a reasonable alternative to enjoying this particular piece of property?
Yes, thank you. If you look at the first picture, that is in fact the entry in that dock corner.
I'm going to ask you again.
Yes, I'm sorry. If you look at the first picture, you can see the entry to the garage, strike that, the entry to the mudroom. In the second picture, you'll see a close-up, and it is the old-style granite block. There is a little bit of concrete face on that, but you see where the screen door is. You can see that there's no landing whatsoever, which is now required by code. In the third picture, you'll see if we open the screen door, you will literally knock yourself off of the porch. So that's one area where we would like to build a true porch with a landing and also make that so that you can be out of the rain as you try to come in. The second issue that we have that we want to address is going to that next picture, which is the dog at the top of the stairs. That's a very unusual staircase down into the cellar, because if you look at the next picture, it is literally just a hole going down and in.
And, this
so
is, and just so that they can understand this is actually prohibiting a car from driving in the garage.
Yeah, that's a dangerous side on that side. It also allows vapor. That would probably not meet code today. Again, this is all pre-code, my assumption. That allows vapors such as CO to go down into the house. There's also the garage is built, never really had any finish work, so there's potential for vapor to go through the house. We keep the garage open most of the time to avoid that. But those two areas are all along what I will call the mudroom. And so what we'd be looking to do overall to fix those three problems is get rid of this hole in the cellar, put an outdoor, not Bilco, I'd like to do a little bit nicer finish, but a new entry from the exterior of the house down into the basement. There's also a central staircase inside of the house, which is a normal access to the cellar, but you need two. So we want to get rid of that hole and avoid the vapor issue. At the same time, we want to redo the staircase, and that will allow us to come into a normalized, safe entry to the house. So that's where most of the work would be done. The garage, because we've taken up a little bit of room to get rid of this, add a staircase in that 7-foot area, or that area, that would allow us to have a full functioning two-car garage, which we really don't now. If we were to not get the variance, we would still probably have to go ahead and complete these issues, but we would no longer have a two-car garage that will fit cars.
So let me ask just
Yes.
a little bit of the evolution of this. So, and not just yours, but it's so if we're looking at this, we basically have a Cape-style house where the bulkhead was on the front of the house facing the street, and someone decided that they wanted to put a garage there sometime in the 70s, 80s, put in a fieldstone-faced foundation in there, and then just took out the Bilco doors and made it part of your garage.
I don't see any evidence. I don't know how this evolved to here, but it's there.
It seems like that's what they did. They put a garage on the front side where the bulkhead was into the basement, and you're trying to resolve the fact that the bulkhead is in the garage.
I do know that this was a boarding house pre-38 hurricane, and next door was the lounge restaurant, as they would call it. So there's a lot of jokes about what happened in our house, but yes. So it also the top burned down right after the 38 hurricane when Bernard Poppy, Ron's father, bought the house. And then they changed the I'm sorry about that. Changed the mansard roof and made some other changes. So I don't know when these changes were done, but yes, they don't. In my view, they don't meet code.
So somebody sort of plopped on a garage on the
seems to
front,
be,
and
yes.
you're
It's
trying to resolve that by making it a more usable space as well as recreating access to the basement. in
Yes,
one
sir.
Spot.
And make a safer access. It's steep. It's about 55 inches down,
Yep.
and it's 4 foot wide. So that if one car going down, I don't like the. There's no barriers. I don't like the setup.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
So-
that makes
so,
sense.
Just so we can cover all the elements
Yep.
here. So one of the, currently, neither you nor Margaret are able to use the garage. Is that correct, to put cars in it?
Right. Dr. Muller is given me the task of cleaning her car at 3 a.m. She's an emergency room doctor at Sturdy Memorial Hospital. She works very assorted hours. Some of them you go in at 9, you get out at 3 a.m. Some you go in at 3 a.m. So she's coming and going at all times of day and night, and I'm out there shoveling the snow. We would like a position for her, actually for both of us, to be able to get into the garage and have a utilizable space.
Sure.
And is not being able to use the garage and having a use that is safe due to the unique characteristics of the structure?
It is due to the unique characteristics of the structure. It's all apparently pre-code and, in my view, not satisfactory. It's not safe.
All right. And this unique characteristic that you just described is not the result of any prior action of the applicant?
No, we've taken no action on this area other than to have redone the interior of the house. And if you look at, well, I'll get to that in a minute. But no, not from any activity of ours.
And your request for the front yard setback variance is not due to the desire to realize any financial gain?
No, it is not. Really, we don't have much option. We could move the garage to a different side of the house, but that's just not a reasonable, we don't have that ability.
All right. And is the relief that you're requesting, the lease relief, necessary to make the garage and the entranceway that you described usable and safe?
Yes, we did hire an architect, Ketty Parenti, and we tasked, or I tasked her, and Dr. Muller and I.
She can put them up.
Dr. Muller and I tasked her with resolving these problems, and I'm also an attorney as well, and I tasked her with doing it in the most reasonable way necessary, the most restrictive way necessary that would still give us the corrected landing, the vapor barrier issues, and the removal of those garage stairs, for safety reasons, and that would still, with that 7 feet, give us the ability to still have a functioning two-car garage. And that would leave 33-foot setback with regard to the town.
I don't have anything else, Chairman.
So you're making the garage, it's essentially about a 20 by 18 feet or so, just about 18 feet, 17 foot 8. And you're expanding it about 5 feet and then 7 feet. Or 5 feet, both sides. Why does it need to be bigger? Why can't it be the same size?
Well, we're also moving the doors, but if we were to make it any smaller, then, once we move, we take out that area where the staircase is and build that wall out.
Steve, talking to this.
That's where we kind of lose the workable garage, if you understand. There's no way that, we can still have enough room to get vehicles in. I've got the tractor for cutting the lawn, et cetera.
So basically, you're pulling the mudroom out 10 feet almost. So that's how you're losing some of that garage space. And
Correct.
You need to come out towards the front yard.
Yes.
In order to access the house.
Correct.
From instead of walking into your kitchen, you want to walk into the mudroom and then have the garage in front of that mudroom.
Yes, that little mudroom existing now is just built on stilts and 2x, and there's no vapor barrier. Is
there any way for you to build this garage without asking for relief?
No, I don't think there is, sir. Okay. We wouldn't have a functional. We would be back at square one. We would have a nice mudroom, but we would not have a functioning garage.
And how is this relative to the adjacent homes in terms of setback?
Setback, a lot of the homes are much further towards the road. Again, there was no code when some of these houses were built. This is a mixed area with very old. This house here is 1885. The house next door is approximately the same, 1885. My parents' house is 1959. None of those meet the setbacks.
And then the house adjacent is being built.
I did not object to that. Dr. Muller and I discussed it. We know Mr. Mercer. It's well under construction. They put the roof on yesterday. We understood that he would be coming 7 feet closer to, 10 feet closer to us. But it seems to have worked out. We're used to not having any view anymore. But
now that's a pretty unique property line on that edge, anyhow, because there is a jog in it, and there's some combination of septic systems.
And he had the 100-foot and the 200-foot lines he had to deal with as well.
Yep. Because I was out there last week, and I did see a bunch of the work happening, and I did see Mr. Poppy starting his lawnmower at 6:45 in the morning.
Indeed, I don't need an alarm clock. Yeah. If I could address that, I don't know if there's any more questions I would like to address.
Not yet. But wait, I've been the only one asking.
Okay.
I've been totally taking this up. So, board members, any questions for the applicant? Ms. Walsh, any questions?
Mine's just a factual question, reading through it. You list the size of the existing structures as 2052. Is that the garage plus the house? And then in the narrative, it's different. It has a footprint of 1368, which is the...
I was trying to do it off of the tax appraisers.
I'm sure it adds up correctly. I just had a question.
I wasn't sure what to use as the gross size. A lot of them just did the footprint because I looked at all of the prior applications.
So this is footprint plus second floor. And you've got 3 bedrooms now?
It's 3 bed, 1 bath.
1 bath. And so you're adding the second bathroom, so it will be 3 bedrooms and 2 baths.
Well, eventually there will be additional bathrooms. There's an upstairs as well.
So you will be adding bathrooms,
yes,
part of your plan.
Yes, that's why I put in the
certificate.
The septic certificate, which is already in place and approved.
Okay.
And otherwise, we're well within all of the setbacks for everything else.
Any other board members? Questions? The applicant?
Yes.
Mr. Rosen?
You're building a second story to this.
Yes.
Above the garage, correct?
That's correct.
And there's going to be a bathroom in there.
Correct.
And that's going to be fed by water, I assume.
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, sir.
And Mr. Papio indicated that there was lead piping.
I don't know about that, but I can tell you that I know where the town, the little spin-off is, which is right out in the front yard.
I think there's a picture of that well.
The setback line.
There's a picture of the well.
Well, I'll bring that up. And I know that my water comes in from the town. We all did that back when my father's house was done, and we had fire hydrants, etc. And it comes in with the black pipe right into the brand new, the big gold main.
Let me cut you off for 1 second.
Yes.
I just want to ask Jamie, Mr. Gorman, is there any concern that this board has over the source of the water in terms of building this?
For the variance, no. I would say no.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did attach.
You don't need to address it. It's okay. We don't need to worry about the water.
Okay. So yeah, the water to my house is fine. The well that Ron talks about, there's a picture there. You can see it in the background. That was a coming of age thing for us to climb on the top of that, and you could touch the white rock. I don't know if the rock is. It is. But no, the last use I've seen of that, it does have water at the bottom of it. It has been covered for years. Ron did have a duck pond, and he ran an electrical cord to a pump that he threw down the hole and a garden hose for the ducks, and everyone was okay with that. But that's the last use of that particular well for water.
The ducks aren't there anymore, though.
No, they're not, sir.
Doesn't say say much for the well. But, okay. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
There's going to be a mud room on that second floor. Is that correct? Oh, no, it's on the first floor. I'm sorry.
It's the first floor.
Yeah. Let me go back.
And you see pages 4 and 5 would be
I think it's the preceding.
Yes.
The preceding picture. There we go. I think that's the first floor right there. Thank you. They have it up on the screen.
Okay, I just had one other thing to
Yes, sir.
say. I ran into the dog.
You did?
And he barked at me.
Which is why he won't go past that line.
Oh, is that the reason why I couldn't come in?
He just happened to see everybody.
Okay.
But you can see the first picture. That is literally his.
Yes, yes. Seemed like a nice dog, but then I didn't want to take a chance.
Oh, no. Amazon loves him. UPS loves him.
Okay, the house that's going next to you, that's being built,
Yes.
I believe it's by Mr. Mercer.
Correct. David Mercer.
And
A trustee.
he came in here, and I think we approved what he was doing.
Yes. I think John Kenyon represented him.
When I was down there, I forgot to notice, but he talked about there's a big tree. Is that tree on your property?
No, that tree was on Dave Mercer's property, and we ran into an issue because once they excavated the house, they had cut the roots. It was a glorious tree, but that was solely on his land, and I had, addressed a concern because I don't know if you remember his plans. I do. So they excavated his foundation, and then they excavated for the porch, and then they've got to excavate for the septic system. There would be no roots, and if my math is correct, when you cut the roots on this side, it falls this way. I live here. So they did take that down.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all my questions.
That's it? Okay. Mr. Brown, any questions?
Yeah, the bulkhead, is it going to be a doghouse bulkhead or just a regular?
Well, I'm going to try to make it a little bit nicer than just the, I would rather do a wooden doghouse, but if I've got to go with a Bilko to begin with, it may be that. But I want to make it, match
You want it, yeah.
the house better.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I would like to do a wooden one, which is what we have I call it the Greenfield house.
Yep.
My parents' house, who both passed away, but the one down the road, we have a wooden bulkhead with stairs going down into the
Yep.
basement. That's a 38 feet strong.
thank you.
Okay. Mr. Diamond, any questions? Okay. Anything to add?
Nothing.
No?
Thank you, Chairman. I would rest on that.
Great, thank you. Anyone else want to speak on behalf of this petition? For? Against? So Mr. Poppy is not here. Does anyone, I don't have those in front of me to summarize them, but I know that he discussed, or he brought up the well, and he brought up some other concerns about not needing the variance and so forth. But without...
If you can read it.
Yeah, the functioning well, H2O, that's good. Concerns about excavation, which is not there. Lead paint, which isn't necessarily anything we have responsibility for on this board. Okay, so be held for a future date because of the concern of the well, and the structure is historic, but not the historic isn't relevant because it's not in the historic district. But it doesn't sound like your disturbance of the site is even going to have an effect to any groundwater issues. Thank you. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. That's okay. That's on you. Okay. So if that's it, no one else has anything else to contribute? You good? Okay. All right. Board members, any thoughts on this particular petition?
Susan,
So turn on your
can
mic.
you use the mic? Yeah, thanks.
Oh, it is, but still we have to be on the mic. So absolutely the amount of bedrooms is relevant to the septic system. So as long as they don't exceed what's permitted by the septic system, which...
It's 1999.
1999, and the system you have there is sufficient for the amount of bedrooms you're proposing? Okay, so no changes to it. So, yeah, so he can put his 10 bathrooms in as long as he doesn't exceed the amount of bedrooms. Technically, right?
Good to know.
Is that right? Am I lying?
It's by bedroom count, not
By
bathroom.
bedroom,
correct.
yeah. So you can have a house of bathrooms. Okay. Any other discussion? No. Anyone like to make a motion on this petition?
I'll make a motion.
Excellent.
I move to approve the petition of Margaret Muller of 82 Maple Drive for a dimensional variance with respect to ordinance number 207, I believe, which is nonconforming lots of record, and section 907, standards of relief. Is it Keith Tyler? Correct. Mr. Keith Tyler, the attorney for...
KYLE. That was pretty close.
Yeah. Thank you. Tyler, okay. The attorney for Ms. Muller spoke with respect to the petition, and Mr. Stephen Morrissey, who... are you married to Ms. Muller?
Represented.
The partner for Ms. Muller spoke on behalf of the petition as well. There was only one opposing person who did not appear before the board, Mr. Papio, and his concerns were read into the not read into the record, but summarized by the chairman into the record. And as was noted at the beginning, the chairman read the documents that we have before the board. The board finds that the hardship from which the applicant seeks relief is due to the unique characteristics of the subject land or structure and not to the general characteristics of the surrounding area. The building is rather old. It was originally constructed so that there was access to the basement, and then there was a garage built over the basement, and that has impeded the ability of the occupants to have a working garage that they could function with, because there's some danger associated with getting out of the car or pulling the car into the wrong place, because of essentially there's a hole in the garage. And so they want to fill in that area or reconstruct it in some way and build a new garage that is a two-car garage, which seems particularly appropriate. However, it's going to impede on the setback associated with the front property line of the property. And so it seems perfectly reasonable that they should want to build a new garage and put it in the place where the old garage will be taken down from. The board finds that the hardship is not the result of any prior action of the applicant and does not result primarily from the desire of the applicant to realize greater financial gain. They bought the property 4 years ago from Mr. Papio. It was constructed in 1885, well before the ordinances of this town were put into place, and it needs to be updated and brought within the ordinances that we now have in place. And so this is just a matter of doing that. The board finds that the granting of the requested variance will not alter the general character of the surrounding area or impair the intent or purpose of the zoning ordinance or the comprehensive plan upon which the ordinance is based. It's going to fit in very, very nicely with the surrounding properties. As a matter of fact, it's going to be set back further than most of the other houses around the area. It's not going to cause any problems with the very old well that is right across the street from them, which is, in my estimation, a lovely structure. Whether that bucket still works for going down to the water, I don't know. The board finds that the relief to be granted is the least relief necessary, simply because they need this relief now. Ms. Muller is a doctor. We need doctors around this area more than ever before, and she needs to come home sometimes very late at night, and it could be a significant hazard to drive into the garage under the circumstances that presently are there. The board finds that the hardship suffered by the owner of the subject property, if the dimensional variance is not granted, amounts to more than a mere inconvenience. Again, because this is an old structure, it's a dirt road that goes down to the property, and it would be a great inconvenience if they continue with the situation that they presently have. And as a consequence, I move for approval of this petition.
Okay, the motion is made by Mr. Rosen. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Daniels. Any discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Rosen?
Aye.
Mr. Daniels? Aye. Ms. Walsh? Aye. Mr. Brown? Aye. Mr. Cagnetta? Aye. Motion passes. Good luck. Enjoy.
Thanks. We'll draft the decisions, and it will certainly be reviewed by me.
Thank you. Take care. Welcome. Okay. Next, we have the petition of Brian J. and Anna B. Steele of 33 Peckham Avenue, Wakefield, Rhode Island, 02879, for a dimensional variance under the zoning ordinance as follows. The applicant is seeking to install a standby generator to serve the existing single-family dwelling. The proposed generator will be located 1 foot from the side property line. The required setback is 20 feet. Relief of 19 feet is requested. Lot size is 1.85 acres. Dimensional variance is required per the zoning ordinance, Section 208, non-conforming lots of record, accessory building setback requirements, Section 907, standards of relief. Owners of the property are Brian J. and Anna B. Steele for premises located at 33 Peckham Avenue, South Kingstown. Assessor's map 57-2, lot 81, and is zoned R80. And tonight we have, for documents, the application with the cover letter signed and dated April 27th, 2022. Owner authorization form signed and notarized April 27th. The proposed site plan, 1 page, prepared by East Greenwich Surveyors, LLC, dated April 11th. 2022, site photo, 1 page, 200-foot radius map, abutters list, legal notice, proof of certified mailings, and notarized affidavit of mailing. And who's here tonight?
I'm Brian Steele, S-T-E-E-L-E.
And you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
So, go ahead, Mr. Steele. What would you like to do?
In conjunction with putting in a pool, we are adding a whole house generator. And my original thinking, out of being naive, I suppose, so that I could put it next to the house. The generator is rated for 18 inches off of the structure, but I came to learn later on that the town has a 5-foot requirement off the house, which would put me into a walkway, and then basically the generator would end up in the middle of the side yard. So in putting the pool, we're putting a pad along the property line and all the pool equipment. So I'm requesting the ability to put the generator on that same pad along the property line, and which is also near the propane access, and that's why I'm here.
Okay, Mr. Gorman, is there a setback for a pool?
There's a 10-foot setback, Mr. Chairman.
And he's going to meet that setback?
He is.
He's at 12 foot or so, it looks like, 12 foot 1. So obviously, it's just the location isn't just because you want it there because you don't want the noise or anything like that. It's just the more appropriate setting based
No,
on the location.
It's just more, I mean, there will be some costs associated with having to put it in the middle of the yard, but the reason is I've got the structure there. I'd have to pour a separate pad, and the way the lot, while it's a very good-sized property, it's narrow. You have to put the generators near where the electric service comes in, so I'm restricted to that size without having to trench around the entire house to service it. And I thought that it would be an appropriate spot for it. From a neighbor's perspective, I reached out. I think there are 7 or 8 abutters by the technical definition, but I reached out to the families around me. The only party that had any questions was Monsignor Clark School.
Yep.
They were worried about noise. They're 40 or 50 yards from, their parking lot is 40 or 50 yards from our property line. But in their mind, they were saying in the future, what if we use that property, there's young kids there, noise and all that. So I sent the specs to Dr. Lisi, the principal of the school, and shared with him, for example, the decibel level generated, throwing off by the generator. I sent him standards from the American Audiology Association, and basically explained to him that this would be no more than a lawnmower-like sound. It's actually less, at between 64 and 69 decibels, between when it's operating on its weekly test and when it's operating in the event of a power outage. He and one of his colleagues were satisfied by that. They sent me an email back, which I shared with Mr. Gorman later this afternoon, saying we're fine, appreciate you addressing our concerns. And the other neighbors that are residential neighbors that are there, I got no pushback from any of them. This was in addition to the required process of sending the formal letters to people, because I didn't want my neighbors to. I just wanted to understand what we were doing. That's all.
And did you have a sense as to what is compatible with that noise level? Like, is there another object or machine or something that's close to that?
I'd be glad to share that. If you'll give me a second, I'll
Yeah, that's
have a
okay.
document.
I mean, I know that condensers for HVAC units are around 40 decibels or something like that, and they're putting them right next to buildings. I know decibels are a whole different scale of determining nuisance.
Right. Some air conditioners, the older ones particularly, are even louder. But
yes.
The numbers I shared with you were 64 and 69. 64 during the test cycle, which is 10 minutes weekly, and 69 when it's operating at full capacity.
Natural gas or
we have propane.
Propane.
Yes. Okay. So let me start with 70 and go up. Traffic, vacuums, alarm clocks, hair dryers, blenders, power tools, lawn mowers, MP3 players, snowmobiles. This is from the American Audiology Association. And I only did this in order to address Dr. Lisi's potential concern if they reuse the property someday they may put a tennis court there. That's what it came down to. I also let him know that I would set the test, the weekly, I don't know what it's called, the weekly run at a time when the kids weren't in school, or do it on the weekends or whatever. Yep. The only thing I couldn't commit to was if the power went out, I don't have any control when it goes on. And he said, well, if that's the case, probably a storm, and we're not going to be in school anyway.
So this is quieter than a lawnmower?
Yes, according to this scale. 60 would be normal conversation and dishwashers, 70 would be traffic and vacuums, and it would fit in between those two. Okay. And that was the only issue that I...
And there's no setback requirement for equipment for pools or anything like that? For him to have his pad there, he's saying his equipment is going to go right there?
Yeah, historically, in the interpretation, because accessory structure is not defined in the ordinance, generators have been treated as such, and pool equipment, things of that nature, had not been treated to the same level. So in this case, I advised the pool contractor that those would not need the variance.
Okay, but they can all be in the same spot.
Yeah, provided the manufacturer's recommendations allows it. Yeah.
Right. It's an 18-inch requirement for combustible materials relative to the generator. And the pool equipment pad is being poured, and this will sit on that.
So this is, again, not for primary energy production. This is
Just in case.
Just in case.
And we don't live here all year. It's just it's just comforting to know that if something happens with whatever, for the obvious reasons, plus the pool filter won't work. I have cameras and everything else, and I just want I've only been there a year. We've had a couple of power outages, and it's very expensive investment, by the way. Shocking, actually, but we thought it was the right thing to do while we were digging up the yard and doing everything else associated with the pool.
And no correspondences?
I did just want to, this came in after hours today from Mr. Steele. This is the email from Monsignor Clark, if you'd like me to read it into record.
Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Steele. John and I appreciated our conversation earlier today regarding the siting of your generator near the property line of Monsignor Clark School. Because of its proximity to our property line, you are requesting a variance from the town. Our school, owned by the Diocese of Providence, received notification of this action. In earlier emails, you addressed the possible noise issue, and the low-level decibel of the generator rating does not raise any concerns. In our conversation, you indicated the plan to put up a white 4-foot-high fence that would surround the generator to act as a buffer. You also indicated your willingness to plant arborvitae or some other type of shrub/tree that would add to the aesthetics of the property. We are satisfied with your willingness to work with us and for being a good neighbor. Take care, Dr. Lisi.
So just as you said, now do you have an issue if we said a 4-foot fence and vegetative buffer as well to maintain?
No, that's fine. That's a perfectly acceptable condition. I think when the fence gets built and Dr. Lisi sees it, he won't find it necessary because aesthetically where the area is, but he'll be the first person I ask when it's done, and I'll do whatever it takes. It's only going to be, it's 8 feet long, so it would be 3 or 4 arborvitaes, and if that's necessary, I'd be glad to do that.
Well, I mean, if we did say it as part of the motion, then it would be required. The building inspector will require it. So if you don't feel it's not necessary, you don't want to maintain it.
I'm not gonna get in it. And by the way, the doctor, they would have to actually be on the school's property
to be far enough away.
Yeah, to be far enough away. And I explained that to him, and he's fine with that. So I thought we would get it built, put the fence. He can look in, and if it's troubling in any way, I'll put 4 arborvitae on their property on that side. Just for the sake of...
Chairman, I just wanted to ask, you're putting a fence around the pool also?
Oh, yeah, the fence...
And are they the same fencing material?
No, we were thinking about white PVC 4-foot fence around the pool pad, equipment pad, but we're putting a black aluminum fence around the pool. Around the pool itself, yeah.
Why the difference? Is it for the heat or?
Well, it's more of a visual thing because if you use the same style of fence, you would look at 4 or 5 ugly pieces of equipment. That's the only reason why we were going to use the white PVC.
All right.
And so there's no possibility that you know of that someone might try to build something in that area between you and the school?
The school, that's the only reason that they paid attention to it, because someday they may use that space. It's near where the pad is. I think one of the members may have stopped by my place, but near where the pad is, that's not suitable for very much. There's a big slope there. But my property goes all the way out to where the school parks its purple bus, if you know where that is, which I think is more of a billboard than a bus. But the bus is actually on my property, so they may. There's a section there they could use. There's more flat. where the pool pad is, there's not enough there to do anything. You couldn't put a half a tennis court there if you tried. It's quite steep. There's actually a drainage ditch that goes through there. So 29 Peckham didn't get back to me. I texted my neighbor. 31 Peckham, Mr. Dimio, he had no issues and, in fact, offered to join me this afternoon. And the other residence abutting me is actually on River Heights, and that home is under construction and being bought by a friend of mine, and he also has no issue.
Thank you. I think this is the way to deal with your neighbors on this type of project,
Right.
or any project.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Okay. Any other board members' questions? Wait, Mr. Daniels, we'll just go in order.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Did you investigate the possibility of putting the generator in the pad in the southeastern corner where it seems to be quite an elevation change between your property and the River Heights Drive property, the back corner?
Would that be where the property comes to a point
Yes.
there? No. The pool is right behind the house.
Right.
And then at that point, we could put the generator there. It would be very cost prohibitive to do that because we would have to run the gas out there and the power back around the pool with 100 feet or 80 feet of trenching back to the house, because it has, and I'm probably over my head on the engineering side, but it has to tie back in to where the power comes into the building, which is along that side of the house where we share a lot with share a border with the school.
So,
and on the other side of the house, it's the same logic. We would have to dig and run both lines completely around the house, underneath the fence, through the bulkhead, and it becomes impractical from a cost perspective.
So this is a propane generator, is that correct?
It'll run off our house propane, yes.
And just a question for the building official again. Is there a 20-foot requirement for a generator from a house, propane generator? Or what is the requirement?
Mr. Vice Chair, there's the manufacturer typically the 5-foot offsets to any openings to the building from the generator, but there's not most generators, Generac, Kohler, Briggs & Stratton, I don't know of any that's set back further than that, 5 feet, but that'd be from an opening.
Okay, so
5 feet from an opening, and I think 5 feet from any combustible material, according to the town. The generator is rated at 18 inches from combustible material. I have room next to the house that honors the 5 feet from the window along the house. But if I've misunderstood this, I'm sorry to have wasted your time, but I think that the town's requirement is also that it be 5 feet away from any combustible material, which would put it 5 feet off the house. Is that correct, Mr. Baum?
I'm not aware of that provision, that offset.
So we have no provision in the ordinance for distance of a generator from a house.
It's a structure, so I think there may have been differing interpretations on the past on whether a generator even qualified as a structure, but looking at the definition, it's an item affixed to the land. So even though there's no specific provision for a generator setback, it's considered an accessory structure. That's why they're here.
And so what is the setback for an accessory structure? Refresh my memory then.
From the side yard here, it's from the property line. That'd be the setback, 20 feet.
20 feet from the property line?
Correct.
So he's asking for 1 foot from the property line.
Correct.
So, tell me again, Mr. Steele, why this generator could not be located to the rear of the house?
If you'd have to go, I'm sorry, did you finish?
Towards the directly south, towards the turnaround.
It could be put in a lot of places on the property, but if you consider the cost of running, installing and running the equipment, the propane line to it and the electric line back, I'd have to go underneath my driveway to do it by the turnaround, and I'd have to go around the pool to do it in the back sort of point of the property. To do it on the other side of the house would involve the same issue, which would require us to dig around the foundation to move both those items. And it gets to a point where it's quite costly to extend it. And this location would involve the shortest link from the propane source and back to that side of the house where the power comes in, which is where the electrician has to, I don't know what the term is, but connect up to the rest of the house.
I don't think I can see where the propane source is on the, unless I'm missing something. Can you
tell me
where?
I don't know if did I provide a photo? Is there a photo, Jessica, that, let me see. Okay, so I provided one photograph. I think it's in your package, and there's a formal spot on the drawings that I got from the engineer where it describes the pad. My photo and my chintzy little drawing there have a rectangle right there. In front of that rectangle is the propane access point. If you look at probably the last attachment to what I sent in. So the propane access point sticks up out of the ground there. It's a little green thing, and it's so you can see the proximity. Oh, there it is. Okay, so this is generally the location of the pads, sir, and then that green square right there, that's where the propane comes into that's where the tank is.
I understand.
That's how it's filled and all
that. I'm trying to understand where that is on the site plan. In relation to the pool, in relation to the house, in relation to the driveway, in relation to the lot lines.
Yeah, and you need eyes better than mine to see it, but on the site plan there's a very small 2 millimeter square that was provided by the engineer, and it says proposed generator location. It's very, very small.
I see it. But I don't see where the propane is.
I think it's that. Is it that little dot to the? Okay.
If you went from the walkway, and then you went towards that square where the cursor is now is the propane tank.
Okay.
And then that square is the pad for the pool equipment where we're hoping to put the generator.
And where is is it a heated pool?
Yes, there'd be a heater, a filter, and I don't know what else is. I think that's
where is that located?
Right there, sir. On so the house, the deck, and the pool. And so you were speaking about putting it to my right on the issues associated with that, and you can see that area could be done, but it would be very expensive to run the lines around the pool and back to the house, because the walkway that you see on the upper part of that drawing, that's where the electrical comes into the house. So that's where it has to tie in. The generator has to tie in to the house.
I understand.
Right there. That's what
But you're running propane to the pool to heat it, correct?
We're running propane to that pad, and the heater is on the pad, and there's pipes that go from It hasn't been connected, but the pipes will go from that pad to the pool. So the heater is on the pad. The propane will go from that small square to the big square, and that's the filter system.
So it says proposed generator location. Is it your testimony that's also the location for the filter and the heating equipment for the pool?
That is where that equipment is going.
I'm sorry?
That is where that equipment is going, yes, right in that spot.
Why didn't you indicate that? You indicated the generator. You didn't indicate that was also the location for the pool equipment.
Yeah, I don't know. This was done by the people we hired to get this done, but I didn't think that I had to make a case for where to put the pool equipment because we were of the understanding that it had to be just 1 foot off the property line.
Does the abutter understand that that's also pool equipment there? Filter, pool equipment, heater, and generator on that pad?
He understands. In fact, in the bottom of, if you have the continued email, Jessica, I've described to him exactly what's going there, and he, the school, the principal, understands that.
Okay.
That's my introductory note to him,
right.
Introducing myself and describing what we're trying to do. And I say in the first paragraph, we have also applied for a variance to locate a generator at the location of the pool equipment. So
okay.
Everything has been, it's been as transparent as possible.
Okay.
Mr. Rosen?
Yeah, I was out there. I was the one that met your wife and the person who was constructing the pool. Now, he told me that the reason you were putting the generator and the pool equipment, the electrical pool equipment, on that single pad was because, and there was only going to be a 1 foot setback from the property line, was because the generator had, and he indicated that Jamie had told him this, I don't know if it's true, but that pool equipment had to be 25 feet off the house, or from the pool. I don't remember exactly what he said, but he said if we put the generator on the same pad, then they could have a 1 foot setback.
That doesn't make any sense to me, Mr. Rosen. I'm not sure.
Okay, well, he was feeding me something, but anyway.
Doesn't seem accurate. I don't believe I said
that
this.
was their justification for putting the generator and the pool electrical pool equipment on the same pad. Are we in agreement that they should be on the same pad?
I think that's what he'd like to do, the applicant, but for convenience and the reasons he's stated, but that there's an offset for the pool equipment and the pool equipment from the generator, I don't know of any.
Okay. Okay, I was also disturbed by the 1 foot setback from the property line. But if the Monsignor Clark is okay with it, everybody seemed nice when I was out there, so. And there was a neighbor that was there who had no objection whatsoever. Right. He was there saying this looks good and all that type of stuff. So.
Mr. Chairman, in the narrative presented with the application, it says we also have approval to position the pool equipment along the property line.
Right.
So at some point, who gave you approval for the 1 foot setback?
It wasn't done. I think what it was more than approval, and if I use the wrong word, then I stand corrected. We weren't sure what the setback was for the pool equipment, and it was clarified, I think, with our contractor in the office that the pool equipment, because of what it is considered, like the point about the structure or not a structure, we only have to observe 1 foot. But the generator, I don't know, because it's connected to the house or whatever it is, has to do the 20 feet. So that, I was just probably clarifying that I'm here not to deal with the location of the pool equipment, just for the generator. So that's, if I misstated it, my apologies. I don't have a formal approval other than, the thing's been inspected, and so far, I think we're doing it according to the requirements of the town.
Yeah, pool equipment is usually next to the pool, or...
It actually is very close to the pool. It actually is very close to the pool. The pool is only about 12 feet, if I'm not mistaken. So it is close. It is close to the pool. It's a big lot, but it's very narrow in the back. So we observe the 10-foot pool setback, and the pool equipment is fairly close to the pool.
Okay. Ms. Brown, you have any questions?
I have a question on the generator. You know what the working clearance is on the generator?
The clearance?
Most equipment has working clearances, which could be greater than a foot, because if you go over a foot, you're going to be on Monsignor Clark property to work on it. Follow what I'm saying?
I don't know, but as drawn by the contractor, if we're able to put the generator on the pad, it will be closer to the house. So it'll be 8 feet off of the...
That's another question I have. Are you saying the generator is going to be 1 foot from the property line, or the pad is going to be 1 foot?
The pad is 1 foot from the 1.5 feet from the property line.
The generator could be 5 feet from the property line. We have to know what the distance is of that generator.
Right.
That's the issue I think the board's considering. Am I correct?
I guess while I'm technically applying for a 19-foot variance, it's an 8-foot by 9.5 or 9-foot pad, and the generator will be closest to the house. It's a 4-foot generator. I don't know if it'll be positioned the long 4x2, the long way or the short way. So it'll be somewhere 1.5 feet plus 4 to 6 feet towards my house on the pad, farther away from the property line.
You should give us the distance the generator is going to be from the property line, because that's what we're going to issue a variance on if the board sees fit to issue it. So we have to consider what that distance is.
I think he's saying at least a foot. It could be more than a foot. It could be 5 feet, but he's saying as close as a foot.
1.5 to 5 feet from the property line. That's the number. That's the safest number I have.
And the other issue is if the board saw fit to issue it based upon that, we are not waiving the clearance, working clearances that's required for the equipment. If it says you have to have 4 foot of working clearances, then you have to move that 4 feet from the property line.
We'll fully respect.
You have to comply with the building code in that sense, and not the zoning ordinance.
I have the spec sheet here, but there's a lot of stuff on it, and it would take me too long to determine what it is. But I'll respect whatever working clearances there are.
That would be basically between your electrical contractor and the electrical inspector.
Right. And
on that, Mr. Gorman?
That's correct.
What Mr. Brown was saying.
What Mr. Brown is saying is that they shouldn't be working off of Monsignor Clark's property to maintain or work with the generator, so the 1 foot might not be enough for a working clearance. So
the pad is a certain size. It is approximately 1 or 1.5 feet from the property line, but the generator is going to be
Well, it sounds like it's the opposite. It sounds like the pad is going to be a foot away and that the generator is going to be on that pad. But it doesn't mean the generator is going to be a foot away. It could be more than a foot.
More, like 5 feet away.
He could be, he's asking for 1. So if we tell him 1, he could be 20 feet away if he wants to.
So what we really need is the sketch to be more detailed. Is that what you're looking for, Mr. Brown?
I think it's just saying that the pad, like we can identify to say that the intent is that the pad is 1 foot away, and you know that the intent is that the working distance is more than the foot. They have more than a foot to work on the generator.
So,
but I think we can say that the pad can be a foot away. Is that the intent for the pad that houses the generator to be a foot away?
Okay, and then we're satisfied that the requirements are met?
And you could also say that the generator must be placed in the middle of the pad, right? So that, you know, they're not pushing it up to the side of the pad, which I don't think would be the intent anyway. Yeah, you can make those conditions. Otherwise, I think he would have to come back, which would be somewhat be a shame given that this is a kind of de minimis application.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm not going to be here next month.
Yeah, so I think if we wanted to say, I mean, even if Bo wanted to say, like, the intent is to work off the pad and that the pad is a foot away from the property line, you know, then that means that you have to give the distance from your working distance from the edge of the pad. But it sort of just depends on how we want to define that.
And I would be satisfied with any condition that addressed the fact that when the unit is being serviced, I don't require any access to the neighbor's property.
So, so the intent is that you're consolidating these services because they're going to be using both power and natural gas that are shared by your pool equipment, and that's why you want to consolidate it into one location?
That's correct.
And to have it 10 feet away is going to get it farther away from, like, you couldn't have proper access to those services if it was 10 feet away from the property line, meaning like it would mess everything up. Like you wouldn't be able to attach it to your propane and your electricity if it's 10 feet away?
No, in practice it could be 100 feet away. It just gets, the unit itself was $5,500. The total cost of installation is $16,000 when you add it up, and that has to do with all the labor and the piping and everything else. So the farther it is away, it just increases the cost. That's it.
Because I mean, we're looking to provide you the least relief necessary. So it's just making sure we have the compelling reason why it needs to be a foot and not 5 feet. You know, so I think if there are restrictions preventing you from putting it 5 feet away, then we should know that we can't say that it should be 5 feet away because it would make it very challenging for you to install it in a different location.
Mr. Chairman,
If
I could just point something out, I don't know if it was brought up, but the underground propane tank requires a 10-foot offset from any ignition source, and so that being the generator also. So you would have to keep a radius of 10 feet from that point of fill on the propane tank, so that kind of pushes them further away as well.
And your propane tank is in the earth already? It's in the ground?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're restricted as to where you can locate that generator based on the current location of the propane tank? Okay. That's helpful. Thank you.
I have some additional questions.
Yes, sir, Mr. Bennett.
Mr. Steele, what is the distance between the proposed pad and the edge of the pool?
I'd have to estimate.
That would be the northerly edge of the surround of the pool.
At one point, the pool is on a 12-foot setback. As you get to the part of the pool closest to the house, it's a little bit more of a setback because of the shape of the lot, sort of a pie shape. 18 or 20 feet would be my best estimates.
And how many lines would you be running to the pool from the equipment? You'd be running a heated line, right?
Right.
That needs to be installed below freeze depth, wouldn't it be?
No, I don't think so. I think it'll just be buried a foot or so, because in the winter we would winterize the pool and it wouldn't be used. So we wouldn't need to put that down 4 feet. In fact, all the pipes that are coming out of the pool are only a foot below the pool level, and they'll be connected. Just subsurface, but not.
So you're running at least two water lines, one for heat, one for filtration. Yes, no.
There are 3 pipes that go into the pool.
Okay.
I think they're all what the contractor calls home runs, which means they all come directly from the filter. I don't know if that's an issue to minimize repairs in the future, and I don't know when the heat get introduced. I'm not quite sure about how all that works.
So your testimony is that's about an 18 to 20 foot run, you feel, to get to the pool?
That's my best estimate. Yeah, I have not.
So suppose you shorten that up by half and move the pad 10 feet away from the propane to the southeasterly location, which would place it closer to the pool and off the property line, maybe 4, 5, or 6 feet. What's wrong with that? In other words, if you look at
on the other side of the pool, are you saying?
No, if you look at your site plan and you move that pad to where it says proposed 8 by 8 right where it says 8 by 8 concrete, right there. If you move the pad there, you've shortened up the distance you need to dig between the pad and the pool by half, roughly, if your testimony is correct, it's 18 to 20 feet. You've taken it off the property line, and you're 10 feet away from your propane tank. What's wrong with that?
Are you saying where the numbers 8 by 8 are?
See where it says 8 by 8? G. If you move that pad to the letter G, you've shortened up the distance you need for the lines to the pool.
Yep.
And you have, assuming you're 10 feet away from that propane tank, which it looks like based on just a guesstimate of scale here, and then you're maybe 4 or 5 or 6 or 8 feet off the property line. What's wrong with that?
Yep, I don't know. I didn't consider that area, and I'm just reluctant to comment because I don't know how the corner of the pool to the propane is. I'm not sure.
To me, it would be some economies of scale because you don't have to go 18 or 20 feet from the equipment to the pool if you only have to go 8 or 9 feet or 10 feet. And you have a shorter distance, it would seem, to the propane. So my question is least relief necessary. That's troubling me. Thank you.
Mr. Diamond, you have any questions about this or thoughts?
No questions at this point. I share similar concerns, specifically about servicing the generator, without seeing a spec sheet and understanding what the clearances that are required, to be able to access this thing. It is a little bit troubling to think about, obviously, down the road, if there were to be a replacement or a significant repair necessary, how to actually access that. If it's as close as, 18 inches from the property line, that seems awfully close. So I would say, like, at minimum, if there was some sort of condition if the pad were to stay in the same place as proposed, but if there was some condition where this would be rotated, the actual generator would be rotated, or just set in a certain part, like I guess the southernmost edge of the actual pad itself, that would make me feel more comfortable. But the fact that it could get as close as 18 inches off the northeastern edge of the pad is a little bit troublesome to me as well. So in this sketch, it looks like the northern edge of the generator is roughly 4 feet from the edge of the pad. Is that right?
If you think about that as an 8 or 9 foot square, it's not, but the dimensions of the generator are roughly 27 inches by 48 inches. So if you take the pad, then add 2 feet, there's 6 feet to the edge of the pad and 1.5 feet to the property line.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I think from what Mr. Daniels indicates, he'd like to see maybe 5 feet from the generator.
Bo, can you use the mics so everyone can hear? Thanks.
Yeah. You're looking for 5 foot from the property line at a minimum. I think...
I don't have a minimum, except that I'm not sure that this application can stand on its own for least relief necessary. I think there's other options here that would provide more than 1 foot. 1 foot, as my colleague Mr. Diamond just pointed out, is problematic.
Yeah, well, that's with the pad. I think he has some setback standards that he has to meet under the propane tank that's in the ground existing and where the pad goes, and meeting that 10-foot requirement under the building code, separation of the generator to the fill point in the tank. I think from what you give us, I think if the board saw fit to grant you a 5-foot setback for your generator, I think from what you show us, you should be able to meet it.
That would be perfectly acceptable. That would be perfectly acceptable.
Put your other equipment.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
That's perfectly acceptable and reasonable. I'll put it.
And I think that would work out.
So this is really helpful because it seems like he actually did scale it. This is, the 1 square, 1 foot sort of rule. And it looks like to be about 5.5 feet from the property line for where the generator is on this sketch. So if we did say 5 feet, it's not the pad, it's the generator.
I understand, but the pad is a structure. And the structure is a foot from the property line.
Yes.
Is that the least relief necessary? That's the structure. You can put anything you want on a pad, but the structure is the pad, right?
Right.
Mr. Daniels, yes. So the generator would be the structure. The pad, like a patio or any kind of concrete apron, wouldn't be considered a structure or have to meet a setback.
It would not be considered.
Would not. No.
Okay.
Not under the ordinance currently. No. Some towns do treat it differently, but.
So you can pour a pad right up to a property line if you want to. You can pour concrete, hardscape.
Provided you're not discharging any water onto their property, potentially, yes.
And assuming you're digging from your own property, technically.
Yes, you could.
Okay. Right. Okay. Any other questions right now for this witness? Seems like everybody in the audience is waiting to comment as well. Anybody out there care about this petition more than you've heard? Okay. So do we have any, thank you. I think, do you have anything else to add at this point?
No, thank you.
Thank you. You can sit down if you want, unless we have some other questions for you. Final thoughts? I mean, it sounds like that we have, that the pad is not the structure, the generator is the structure. Sounds like we have to be 10 feet away from the propane tank, but we don't know exactly where that is just yet. Sounds like Monsignor Clark is okay with this 1 foot. Even if it were to be 1 foot, they're okay with it. It is on an interesting side of Monsignor Clark. I'm not sure if they'll use that southerly part of, but you never know. So it is sort of unique, I guess, in that sense that it isn't necessarily against a homeowner that could potentially be using that edge. But so anyhow, that's what we got. Any final thoughts towards this? Are we thinking that the structure of the generator be the 5 feet away, which seems to conform to this plan? And can we submit this as an exhibit? Did you do that? He wrote on here too. 1 square is 1 foot, so that's very helpful. So Jamie, you can use this scale. You can use this drawing as the means to identify the proper location of it. Things.
Yeah. So we're going to be going with option 1, obviously, on the.
Oh, sorry about that. Yes. Yeah, because he's asking for a generator, because if you didn't have a generator, you wouldn't be here.
Exactly.
Sure.
Good point, Mr. Chairman.
So, okay. So we can use option 1 as our proposed, as our motion or final plan. To say it conforms with this would be close enough, or should we say at least 5 feet? Should we say distance, or can we say this?
You can do both. I would in the motion I would reference option 1 on whatever exhibit we call this, the submitted depiction, and then you can also require a minimum distance for the generator itself. That's up to you.
Okay, Mr. Daniels, how do you feel about that? Is this reasonable to you, or are you still concerned about the pad itself?
No, it's okay. I wouldn't want a condition that that'd be a fence. It shows fence posts, but I would make that a specific condition because I'm very familiar with that property, and I know kids roam around the parking lot.
Yep.
And it could be an issue.
Sure.
So you've got 6th, 7th, and 8th graders that
never get into trouble.
Never get in trouble. And
so a 4-foot white PVC fence with a vegetative buffer?
As long as it's a secure fence that a child can't easily explore.
So we can say a 4-foot fence and that's enough? We don't have to specify material?
No, but I would note that the correspondence between Monsignor Clark and Mr. Steele did mention a 4-foot PVC fence, but I don't know if that's one addition you'd like to make.
But if something else comes out in 5 years and it's not PVC, he can use it?
I think that'd be acceptable.
Nastier than PVC, perhaps? I'm sorry, I shouldn't make commentary. Yeah. For anyone that is a PVC manufacturer, I apologize. Okay, does anyone want to make a motion for this? Will I? Can I grab your cheat sheet?
Yep.
All right, I'll give it a shot. I mean, I don't mind. I don't mind reading it in, if it's just. Yeah. I'll just read it in, because then that's fine. Okay, so this is Mr. Steele. Okay. So this is, I'll make a motion to approve the application of Brian J. and Anna B. Steele of 33 Peckham Ave as read into the record. Mr. Steele presented his need for a generator, or his request to have a generator installed per his plan, which is on the northern edge of the property abutting Monsignor Clark. He requested that the pad was going to be 1 foot away, but there is a drawing that has option 1 on it that indicates the pad 1 foot away or so, but shows the generator about 5.5 feet away. So this option 1 submittal will be our plan. So no one else spoke on this petition. So there were no opposition to it. And like I said, we have the submittals into the record as well as this additional option 1. Option 1, like I said, shows the generator in sort of the southeastern part or southwestern part of the pad. We're also, per the correspondence with Monsignor Clark Principal, there will be a 4-foot fence around the perimeter of the concrete pad, plus a vegetative buffer towards the Monsignor Clark property. The fence is on the plan of option 1, but the vegetative buffer is not. So we find that the hardship from which the applicant sought relief is due to the unique characteristics of the subject land or structure and not to the general characteristics of the surrounding area. This is not due to any physical economic disability of the applicant, excepting those physical disabilities. And that is, the hardship is there's an underground propane tank and services that are in that area of the property. So the location of the generator in that spot is not only practical, but it's also the most feasible relative to where the existing services for the electrical and the propane. And also that Monsignor Clark Principal was fully supportive relative to all the specifications provided by the owner of the generator itself. We find that the hardship is not the result of any prior action of the applicant and does not result primarily from the desire of the applicant to realize a greater financial gain, because this is not the type of project that's solely for financial gain. This again is for the convenience of the location on the property. We find that granting this variance will not alter the general character of the surrounding area or impair the intent or purpose of the zoning ordinance or the comprehensive plan upon the ordinance is based. And that's because this is an unused portion of the Monsignor Clark property, so we don't feel that it's going to have an impact on the area. And the granting of the relief is the least relief necessary. We talked about that to great extent, where we talked about the fact that we want to make sure the generator is serviced and that it needed more than a foot. And that's when we were presented the option 1 plan that showed the generator about 5 feet away from the edge, giving it sufficient room. So we feel that this is the least relief necessary. We find that the hardship suffered if the owner of the property, the dimensional variance is not granted, will amount to more than a mere inconvenience, because if they weren't able to get the variance for the location of this, they would have to dig up and relocate a variety of services on the property. And since this did not have impact to the neighbors, having it in this location wasn't seen as an issue. With that, I'd like to make a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Daniels?
Aye.
Ms. Walsh?
Aye.
Motion passes, all 5. Congratulations. It's all set. All right. Sorry, I got thrown off because I eyed me first. So, next we have the petition of William R. Morse of 400 Robinson Hollow Road of Richford, New York, 1383-5, for a special use permit under the zoning ordinance as follows. The applicant is seeking to replace an existing 280-foot seasonal cottage with a 397-square-foot recreational vehicle, RV. The proposed RV will not exceed 50% of the previous floor area, nor will it be located closer to the neighboring units. Lot size is 7.67 acres. This special use permit is required per the zoning ordinance 203, special use permit for addition, enlargement, expansion, or intensification, Section 608, Coastal Community Overlay District, and Section 907 are standards of relief. The owner of the trailer, 689D Succotash Road, are William and Linda J. Morse, on property owned by Village at Potter's Pond, located at South Kingstown, Assessor's Map 87-3, Lot 550, and is zoned CW. For this, we have application signed and dated May 3rd, 2022, owner authorization form that was signed and notarized on May 3rd. Park model cabin spec sheets, 4-page, proposed site plan, 1-page, prepared by East Greenwich Surveyors, LLC, and dated April 11th. Cited photo, 1-page site plan, Google area photo, May 3rd, 2022. 200-foot radius map and a butters list, legal notice, proof of certified mailings, and notarized affidavit of mailing. And there was one recent correspondence, which is the Village of Potter's Pond Board, dated June 13th, 2022, essentially blessing the proposed application. So, who's here?
Hi, I'm William Morse, M-O-R-S-E.
And you tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Right or left, we'll still believe you. Okay, Mr. Morse, what would you like to do?
I purchased the unit, 689D, approximately 3 years ago. When I purchased it, I knew it was in disrepair, severe disrepair, and basically I purchased it because of the location. I intended to remodel it, repair it, and add an approximate 10-foot addition on it. But when I had my contractor come in and look at it, and a crane company, I was going to have it lifted up by a crane company, we came to the conclusion it was best just to demolish it and replace it. So that led us to figure out this park model unit because it fit in with the specifications that I would have to adhere to with the town, less than 50%. And the park model unit has a side entrance, which aesthetically is what we were looking for. So it would be a rather simple removal and replacement. You just roll the park model in. It's complete with utilities, and it'll be easy to hook up. I think it'll be a very nice addition to the community. I don't know if you're familiar with the community. It's that little park across the channel from the Matunic Oyster House. Easy to walk to. So I intend to, if approved, do it. The unit will be ready in late November, early December. So I'll do the work then, and most of the units will be closed up for the winter, so I won't be disturbing anybody. I spoke to most of my neighbors, and they're all, very much in approval of it because the unit that is there now is probably the worst unit in the park. It's old, decrepit. And, if you take a good look at it, for example, the floor joists are 2x4s, and they're 20 to 24 inches on center. It's just really a dilapidated little unit. Yeah. So that's about it in a nutshell. A simple install. I'll do it at a time when it won't disturb the community. The board had some modifications to what I thought I'd do. For example, it comes with a loft. I'm working with the company to have the loft removed, and if they don't remove it, I'll just have a contractor remove it or do it with myself. And it shouldn't be that simple, and it won't. There's nothing structural about the loft, so it won't disturb the unit at all. And they had some other modifications, but they're mostly aesthetic. That's the significant one is the removal of the loft before I bring it onto the property, and I've agreed to that. So,
it's a really unique looking park model cabin. I mean, is it really laminated on the outside, or is that?
No, it's like milled wood trees, and the color of it and it's yes, it's laminated. It's part of the sealing process and stuff like that. I asked the contractor or the people constructing it if they could change the color, and they're not really willing to do any modifications. It's just take it or leave it. And in this environment of housing expenses and stuff like that, I took it.
Yep.
So
and Jamie, this does conform with all the regulations we have for that community in terms of size and all that.
Yeah, it'd be 50% or 150 square feet, whichever's less. So he's under both.
And do we have concerns about that loft at all for our ordinance, or is that?
Yeah, sleeping loft's prohibited. So
Also prohibited. So when you inspect it after it's completed, it just can't be there.
correct.
Oh, very good.
You could show up with it, but it just can't be there when you're inspecting.
Yeah, in order to get the CO, correct.
Very
Makes
good.
sense?
Yes.
So, as you said, it could be post-delivery that they remove it.
That is correct.
Modified.
So that's my intentions.
Okay, board members, any questions for this?
I agree with you, Mr. Chairman. It's a really neat unit. I'm ready to get one for the woods of Vermont.
Yeah.
But I know that we got the additional letter from your association that set forth.
That's the board that basically manages the entire community. They're elected.
They set forth a series of conditions, and you're going to be able to meet all those?
Yes. A lot of them, like I said, are aesthetic. The big one is the removal of the loft.
Well, one thing for me, and I love the area you're in, but the colors is a little strong.
Agreed.
And I see that they said that you would agree to paint your new unit a different color if they ask you to.
Yes, I would let it weather for a year or two, and it'll probably be paintable by then.
And you can actually paint this material.
If it weathers a little bit, it's pretty good glue, I guess you'd call it. There's a unit just like it, a couple of units over.
There is.
Yes, identical, bought in Philadelphia.
Not the idea?
No, we were searching everywhere for a unit that would fit into what we needed, and it's the only one we could find. So.
Okay, and the parking?
Yeah.
Parking conditions?
Yes.
No issues for parking? No.
Oh, the parking? No.
No utilities? Nothing you're adding to it? No spotlights? Anything like that?
No, nothing like that. No.
Detrimental to the community?
No.
And I guess instead of a patio, you're going to put a picnic table.
Yes.
With an umbrella.
Well, the board told me that I can petition them again next year to put a deck out if I so would like to.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions, board members?
Yeah, there's a stone skirt around the bottom. What is that?
That's just the pamphlet. That's just for advertisement. It doesn't come like that.
Oh.
You have to add your own skirt. So
what would you propose?
Not a stone one.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. We would just put something aesthetic.
Just to screen the undercarriage.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yes.
All right.
Any other questions, board members? No? What's that? Go for it, man. Oh, wait. Anyone out there care about this? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All set.
Have a nice weekend.
Thank you. Well, we have to approve it, but You don't have to stand up there, I guess is my point. Don't leave yet. We have to make sure that we're going to approve it for you, but I don't think you have a problem.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to do the motion, if
Please.
that's okay, because I want to show that I can do a special use permit. So we'll start.
Go for it.
Okay. The application is to replace a dilapidated cottage with a new turnkey unit, an RV, and the petition is from Mr. William R. Morse and Linda J. Morse. They purchased the property at the village at Potter Pond 3 years ago, thinking they would be able to remodel the cottage, but it was in such bad shape they're going to demolish and replace it with this unit. Mr. William Morse spoke, represented himself, and there were nobody spoke in favor of the request and no one spoke in opposition to it. The materials have been entered into the record, and the board finds that the special use is specifically authorized by this ordinance because, it was section, I think it's zoning ordinance section 203, the special use permit for addition, enlargement, expansion, or intensification, and in accordance with section 608, the coastal community overlay district. The board finds that the special use meets all of the criteria set forth in the subsection of the ordinance authorizing such special use, because it's been approved by the village at Potter Pond with some specific recommendations, and Mr. Morse agreed to meet all the recommendations, including that there would be no loft or no access to the loft, that they would paint the unit, Mr. Morse would paint the unit a different color if it was decided in the future, that they would arrange for the parking in accordance with what works for the village at Potter Pond, and that they would keep the village at Potter Pond board informed. And the board finds that the granting of the special use permit will not alter the general character of the surrounding area or impair the intent or purpose of the ordinance or the comprehensive plan of the town. In doing so, the board has considered whether or not satisfactory provisions and arrangements have been or will be made concerning, but not limited to, the following matters: ingress and egress to the lot, and that was covered with the discussion on the parking, and to exposed or proposed structures thereon with particular reference to automotive and pedestrian safety and convenience, traffic flow and control, and access in case of fire, emergency, and catastrophe. Off-street parking in loaded areas where required, with particular attention to loading areas where required, with particular attention to the items in subsection A1 above, and the noise, glare, or odor effects of the special use permit on adjoining lots. And the unit, the RV unit that is being installed is kind of a turnkey, in that it can be hooked up to the utilities with very limited construction. The trash storage and deliver areas with particular reference to the items above, that it's going to be like any other normal house there. Utilities with reference to the location, availability, and compatibility, and that's where it's easy to hook up. Screening and buffering with reference to type, dimensions, and character. Signs, if any, that's probably not relevant in this case, and exterior lighting with reference to glare, traffic safety, compatibility, harmony with lots in the zoning district. and this is very compatible with the other units in that area. Required yards and other open space, and general compatibility with lots in the same or abutting zoning districts. Because the conditions for the village have been met, the unit actually has been installed in a similar location, and there is agreement on what needs to be done to complete it. So the board, I recommend we approve this application.
Excellent. Thank you, Ms. Walsh. Can I get a second? Second by Mr. Brown. Any other discussion? No? Okay. Ms. Walsh?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Daniels?
Aye.
Mr. Rosen?
Aye.
Mr. Cagnetta, aye. Motion passes. Good luck. Good job. Okay. So we got a couple left. Here we go. So we have the petition of Christopher J. Maley of 41 Briggs Road, Wakefield, Rhode Island, 02879 for a dimensional variance under the zoning ordinance as follows. The applicant is seeking to construct a 24-foot by 25-foot second-story addition to the existing single-family dwelling. The proposed addition will be located 19 feet 11 inches from the rear property line. The required rear setback is 30 feet, so a relief of 10 foot 1 inch is requested. Lot size is 0.34 acres. Dimensional variance is required per the zoning ordinance, section 207, non-conforming lots of record, building setback requirements, and section 907 is our standard of relief. The owner of the property is Christopher J. and Eileen J. or L. Maley for premises located at 41 Briggs Road, South Kingstown. Assessors map 87-2, lot 129, and is zoned R80. Oh, it is small. All right. For tonight, we have the application signed and dated May 2nd, 2022. Owner authorization form signed and notarized April 27th, 2022. Site photo, 1 page. Site plan, L1. Floor plans, A1. Exterior elevations, A2, and that were prepared by ESM and dated March 13th, 2021. Plat map addendum, 1 page. And then we have some supplemental material. A cover and drawing index T10. Floor plans A10 and exterior elevations A20. Cross section A30 prepared by ESM and stamped by Mr. Wesley Grant. Dated March 13th, 2021. We have a site plan L1 prepared by ESM and dated March 13th, 2021. We also have a radius map of 200 feet, a butters list, legal notice, proof of certified mailings, and notarized affidavit of mailing. Good evening.
Good evening. Christopher Melley, M-E-L-L-E-Y.
And you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Excellent. So tell us what you want to do.
We currently have a burger ranch, 900 square foot. My parents bought it in 1978. My wife and I took it over in 2009. New septic on-site water treatment installed 2016. We're looking to add a bathroom, and the plans are to move one of the bedrooms upstairs, as it's really only a burger ranch, if you ever saw it, 8 by 8 bedrooms, and suicide cellar stairs, which I mentioned. So it was built with that current zoning, and we're just going up and looking for relief so that we can add on and have. We moved down here in September, so we're full-time residents, 2 children, grandchildren, so just a little elbow room to get us where we need.
Oh, excellent. Welcome. So really, you're not increasing your footprint at all. You're just
correct.
Up.
Correct. No increase.
Use the existing footprint.
Yep. First floor walls are all staying, saving as much as we can, and going up.
Okay. Board members, any questions? No. And you're not exceeding any of the height or anything like that.
No, we're going. It's even lower. I think it's 29 or something. Yeah, it's not that high.
Okay. Public sewer. Or is it a septic?
Septic, on-site water treatment system, yeah.
And it's and it's permitted. You're not. Are you increasing the amount of bedrooms? Or are you
No, sticking with 3, correct.
Okay. All right. Yes, Ms. Walsh.
So currently, it's 1 story. I couldn't tell from the plan whether part of it's 2-story, or do you have an attic? Or
No, just part of we're going to go up on one side of the house. I think it's 25 by 24. No attic.
Okay. Anyone out there concerned about this? Want to speak on behalf of it? No? Okay. Anybody have any thoughts about this? Seems pretty straightforward. Yeah? Okay. So, someone want to make a motion? It's pretty easy.
I'll do it, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, sir.
Motion to approve the petition of Christopher J. Melly, 41 Briggs Road. The property is located at that address. For dimensional variance, the application and the documents were read into the record by the chairman. The applicant is seeking a relief of 10 feet 1 inch on the rear yard setback, which is required to be 30 feet. This dimensional variance is required under Section 207 because this is a non-conforming lot of record, and Section 907, standards of relief. Mr. Melly appeared and testified on his behalf. He's desiring to add a second story, 24 by 25, to the existing single-family dwelling. It will not increase in any way the basic footprint of the home, and there was no objection to this application. The board finds that the hardship from which the applicant seeks relief is due to the unique characteristics of the subject land and not to the general characteristics of the surrounding area. The board finds that the hardship is not the result of any prior action of the applicant and does not result primarily from the desire of the applicant to realize greater financial gain because he intends to utilize the second story for his own use and for his own family. The board finds that the granting of this variance will not alter the general character of the surrounding area or impair the intent and purpose of the zoning ordinance or the comprehensive community plan. The applicant has submitted as part of the documentation the fact that 61 Briggs Road, which is an adjacent property, was granted the same basic variance not too long ago. It is the least relief necessary, once again, because it's adding a second story, and he's not going left or right or up north or south on the property. And in order to gain additional space, living space, the only option is to go up to a second story. If we don't grant this variance, this would amount to more than a mere inconvenience, once again, because the property owner, Mr. Melly, would not be able to utilize his home for additional living space, which is what he wants to do with the addition of the second floor. There are no conditions with this request, and therefore I move passage of the petition.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Brown. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Mr. Daniels?
Aye.
Mr. Brown?
Aye.
Mr. Rosen?
Aye.
Ms. Walsh?
Aye.
Mr. Cagnetta? Aye. Motion passes. Good luck. Upwards and onward. Sorry. It's getting late. Next we have the petition of James Gallagher of 163 Juniper Road, Wakefield, Rhode Island, 02879, for a dimensional variance under the zoning ordinance as follows. The applicant is seeking to demolish a 10-foot by 16-foot deck and construct a 16-foot by 25-foot deck attached to a single-family dwelling. The proposed deck will be located 25 feet from the rear property line and 2.8 inches from the side property line. The required rear and yard setback is 30 and 10 respectively, so they're going to need 5 feet and they're going to need 7.4 inches, 7 feet 4 inches for relief. Total lot coverage proposed will be 1,330 square feet, where the maximum lot coverage is only 956 square feet, so it's a 20% relief, which is 374 square feet. The lot size is 0.11 acres. Dimensional variances required per the zoning ordinance, Section 207, and non-conforming lots of record building setback requirements, and Section 907 are standards of relief. The owner of the property are James and Jennifer Gallagher for premises located at 163 Juniper Road, South Kingstown, Assessors Map 83-2, Lot 240, and is zoned R30. For this, we have the application signed and dated May 11th, owner authorization form signed and notarized May 11th, existing site plans 1 page, proposed site plan 1 page, and a 200-foot radius map and a butters list, legal notice, proof of certified mailings, and then there is a notarized affidavit of the mailing. So, and you are?
Good evening, everybody. My name is James Gallagher, Gallagher, of 163 Juniper Road.
And you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Go ahead, Ms. Gallagher. What would you like to do?
Once again, good evening. Thank you very much for your time. We just purchased this property a year and a half ago. When we purchased the property, the deck did need repair. There's a bit of a sway to it, so our plan was to take that down. So we are hoping. Obviously, it is bigger than the old deck that is going down. We plan to put on a larger deck and a bit more, let's say, family-friendly deck. It's a smaller deck right now. We have a large family. Not everybody will be staying there all the time, but we also have family members next door. The house is not, let's just say it's not an estate. It's about 750 square feet. Our kitchen is very small, so we can only really sit comfortably inside of our kitchen to eat dinner and breakfast, lunch, if you will, for maybe 5 people tops, comfortably. So we're hoping, we plan to do most of our dining outside like we do. This is our second home in Rhode Island, but we hope it's our first home. At our first home, we have a large deck where we do our dining outside in the summer. We hope to enjoy the same here in Rhode Island. So the plan is to not only take down the deck, which it is a bit of an older deck, it does need work. It has to, either way, it should come down. We also want to make that deck, again, a little bit bigger. My daughter she has spina bifida. She does use Lofstrand crutches to walk. But if you know anything about spina bifida, the challenges with folks with spina bifida, down in the future, they may need to use a wheelchair, or we may use to be, let's just say, a bit more friendly, ADA-friendly chairs on the deck. So we will need some more room to move around for her as she goes. She's 17 right now. God forbid, I hope she never has to use that wheelchair or anything else, but we're just trying to prepare for the future. We have our house. We live in Delmar, New York, which is just a suburb of Albany. We live in a 120-year-old house now. We made sure over the 24 years we've been in this house, we've looked to make it ADA compliant where we can. Our goal is to do the same here. So, we're limited at some of the changes, and actually the house is very accessible and friendly inside. We'd like to do the same for the outside. So our goal, again, is to take that deck, not only make it a bit more family-friendly, but also accessible for all.
Thank you, Mr. Gallagher. Board members, any questions? Mr. Daniels? It's okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. There's a notation on the site plan about the OWTS. Are you replacing that, or was it replaced, or?
You have to forgive me, Mr. Daniels. I don't know what an OWTS is.
The septic system.
We did actually replaced it last year. The septic was bad when we bought the house, so we replaced it and we upgraded it to a denitrification system.
And where is that located on the property now? In other words, I see what looks like maybe an older system, but where's the new system?
Mr. Daniels, if you're looking at the back of the house, I believe it is to the south of the deck, so we're not going any closer to that. The only where we're going on the deck is that I believe we're going north, and we are going east to increase the square footage of the deck. We are not going any closer to that denitrification system.
Okay. I guess that leads to my next question would be, why couldn't you extend the deck to what would be the south side? Looks like there's a bulkhead there, maybe.
Well, I apologize, Mr. Daniels. Maybe I didn't explain it correctly. But the denitrification system, if we went going to the south, that's where the denite is, right there.
And this deck is how high off the ground? Is it at basically ground level, or?
No. It's probably about 4. I don't have that in front of me. I do apologize, but it's your standard 4-foot raise, I believe, on the stairs. So about a 4-foot deck.
Okay.
High.
So your testimony is you can't go to the south because the septic system is located there.
Yes, sir.
This would basically cover the septic system.
Right now, as the deck is here, and we're expanding out to the, to the north and to the east. On the south side, it would stay. The denitrification system starts right over just to the south.
Okay. Thank you.
There's also a window. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's all right.
Continue. There's also a window that we wouldn't want to cover up either, underneath for the basement.
Okay.
And so this drawing represents the stairs as well, so you don't need to go any farther or closer to the property line.
No, the idea for the stairs, the old stairs, I'm going to butcher it. Cognetti? Mr. Cognetti.
Okay. Yeah.
Thank you. The old stairs, how they were built, they put the 4x4s inside of the rails. And that is how exactly. So it's not the most friendly, ADA friendly, if you will, going up the stairs to give the most space. So the idea was, and as we were coming down, as you can see on the plans, now turning the stairs that will go to the west of the house, then it's easy access, so you're coming up safely on a path, and it'll be set center into a path. So if somebody was walking with any kind of issue or pulling up a wheelchair, you can roll right up and then grab the handle and go right up the stairs. Does that make sense, how I explain that?
So the stairs are going front to back instead of left to right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, and Jamie, that makes sense to you on the drawing? Do you see that? I'm seeing that.
I do, yes.
All right. So your setback, the 2.75 is fine.
I spoke with Mr. Schimmel next door. We've discussed it a few different times and some different strategies of what we could try to do. Mr. Schimmel, who's, for the record, he's a great guy. I've been working with him next door now for a year and a half, working together on some different projects. I explained to him how we want to access. He completely understands. What was brought up earlier tonight, we talked about putting up some arborvitae. Is that the arborvitae? Thank you. I'll get in trouble for my wife if not for a minute. So they talked about just putting up he wanted to put up some bushes or anything like that as he went, and I told him I'd be happy to help him plan it. I'd plan it myself, whatever it was. I sent him the plans. We had numerous discussions about it, and he, obviously he's not here tonight, or maybe he didn't hear any kind of argument on his behalf, but he has given us the thumbs up. And I spoke with the gentleman behind us, who I'm looking for relief not only to Mr. Schimmel's house, but also the folks behind us, Rich and Jude, and we have spoken with them. We reviewed the plans with them. We had them over, showed them where the deck was going to be, and understanding what we were trying to do. They show no issue. They said they have no issue with that, with the plans.
Well, good job, because we didn't get any correspondences, so that's a good sign. Okay. So anybody else have any questions? You're also exceeding your lot coverage.
Yeah.
So you're aware of that.
It was, I believe it was already exceeding the lot coverage at the 16 by 10 deck, sir. I believe. So that's where we looked at it as we're already exceeding it anyways, as it was. That's that's where we went for a larger deck.
And so you're not adding any impervious material or anything to the site, like so drainage. You're not going to increase any runoff or anything like that.
No, sir.
I mean, I think that's just more of a respect thing than a requirement. But okay. So, any other questions, concerns from board members? Yes, Mr. Brown.
The plan that you submitted, is that the septic system that you installed there? The plan that you submitted shows a septic system on there.
I believe.
Is that the new one that you installed?
Mr. Brown, it is. We installed the denitrification system when we purchased the house on March 17th. Finalized. Happy St. Patty's Day. When we purchased the house, we knew the septic had to be replaced. It was usable. We could still use the house. So we replaced the septic system, and that was done in November of last year.
Is this the plan that you used to replace the system with?
Honestly, off the top of my head, I don't know if that is the same drawing. Do you mind if I take a peek at that? Can I come over? Thank you.
Because you obviously wrote on something that was existing.
Here's your septic
Yes,
tank.
that's the plan that was submitted. That's that denitrification system right there.
I just wanted.
So that's the location of the current system right there.
The location of the system
Yeah, when I was there today, there's two green covers.
That's the D-nite.
Exactly. That's why I was asking you. I just wanted to ensure.
Sure.
All right. The next question I have, would you decrease the size of the deck?
Would I decrease the size of the deck? Honestly, Mr. Brown, I prefer not to. Like I said, we have unfortunately, it's an incredibly small kitchen. And for us right now, I have a child in college. I have another one going. We have some challenges currently at home right now on the health side. So we were hoping to maybe add on to the house and do something to the house, but that is not going to happen anytime soon. So the best way for us to really fully enjoy the house in the summer, we thought, the best way is really to make the deck a bit larger, where we could have a sitting area and we can have an eating area.
I hear you. Right now, on the north side, your house is probably just meets the setback, 10 foot from the property line.
Mm-hmm.
On the south side, you might have 6 feet to the property line. If you construct the deck, you'll never be able to get anything basically in the backyard. Any type of equipment to repair the existing system, whatever.
Mr. Brown, if I may interject, I'll have and when you say the south side, which is closest to my neighbor at 153, who is here this evening. He'll be next after me. But there is a complete alleyway where I can access there that is completely open on the south side of the deck.
My suggestion would be that you decrease the length of the deck and hold the existing north line of the house, which, and saying that you're going to replace the whole deck anyway, you could move it probably 2 to 3 feet the way your septic tank is without going over it. And that would give you about an 18-foot length back there, and with your 16, you would have a good-sized deck. Normally decks 10 by 12, 12 by 12.
Mr. Brown, if I, again, so going back to one of the reasons how we have that deep, why we have the stairs the way they are. I have a daughter with spina bifida, which is, she walks with Lostrand crutches, and, probably with spina bifida in her future will be a wheelchair use. So the idea is there is a path right now that you would walk down on the north side of the house. That is a very friendly path there that somebody, if they're walking with any kind of assisted walker, crutches, coming down with a wheelchair, and it's easy access to get on those stairs. Any kind of turn, then they have to come on there to grass, that I believe would be a bit more difficult. And so that is why, when we came over on that side of the house, the goal was to meet up with that path.
You're exceeding the lot coverage.
Correct.
By 374 square feet. You'd still, even if we shrunk the new deck by the proposal that I proposed, you'd still be exceeding the lot coverage. But
And you're absolutely correct, Mr. Brown.
112 feet less than what you proposed. I just think that's probably, we have to grant the least variance that was put before us.
Sure.
And again, I'm looking at access in the future to the back of your house. Right now your in-laws or brother-in-law, sister-in-law lives next door. That property may not forever be in their name.
Fair.
And you may not have an alleyway to get to the back of your yard. Now you got to tear your deck off to get to the back of your yard.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
The board doesn't often see applications that fall into the category where the hardship is due to an ADA disability, but that's something you can certainly consider in this case.
So it doesn't require any documentation or anything like that?
No.
Okay, good.
Thank you. Mr. Brown, if I may address, I can't go any farther south on that deck. What happens, if I go farther, I start running into, I have an outdoor shower that's there, we have that we got the denitrification, really, the denitrification system is the most important piece. I start running into that, that's a problem, right?
You would not interfere with the denite system. And I saw your outdoor shower there. And you could move, you've got plenty of room, and you got more room to your shower anyway. You still have distance in between them.
I will say there's a wind of, I'm sorry, I interrupted you, Mr. Brown.
basement window there too, I saw that, but that's not gonna disappear. Your deck's gonna be over the top, you'll still have access to that window.
Understood. But then the bathroom window would come right onto the deck. And it's kind of, well, the aesthetics wouldn't be great, if you will. If I come any farther over with that deck, I'm going to run into the bathroom window. That would be right there.
Maybe you'll have to reduce the deck even further then. That would be your option. Those are my concerns.
Understood. If I may, to discuss just different.
I had
I'm
a
sorry.
quick question first to follow on what Mr. Brown was saying. The path you're referring to
Yes, ma'am.
makes it easy to go straight up from the driveway. It's already there.
Yes, ma'am.
And that goes right to where you proposed changing the steps to make it easier.
Yes, ma'am.
Because right now the steps are not, they're not safe
No.
for your dog.
If I misrepresented them, I apologize, and please, I don't. They're safe now. It's just they need how they were built, right? The 4x4s they were put on the inside for the rails. They should be on the outside, so there should be more space. And it's also what it is. You're coming down the path, okay, and then you got to take a right. And then you're going up. Now,
This takes her on it. Well, it takes you all from the driveway on an existing path.
on an existing
Right
to the
up-
grass.
Right up into the deck.
Yeah, it takes you. Then you go off. Sorry, you go off the path for a step or two. You go on grass, and then you go to the steps. What I'm trying to do, I'm trying to avoid getting off the path, and I can keep in that space. I can keep at least have access to the back of the yard and to the front of the yard.
And the path exists now.
Yes, ma'am.
And Bill, Mr. Rosen, did you go out to see this house? Yes. And the path is there? Yeah. I mean, not to question.
No, it's okay.
But it seems to me so straightforward to, go right from the driveway up the path into the deck.
Yes. The challenge is, and I respect Mr. Brown's thoughts very much, and what we did go over this square footage numerous times trying to see where it worked out. We have existing furniture, some things that we like to do and how we like to have outside. But also in addition was, okay, we're coming over, how can we get square footage? And how can we get a little bit bigger deck in a different way? So we did look going more to the back of the house, because that would really be the best way to get it. I understand Mr. Brown's thoughts on maybe possibly going south, but I'm going to get very little going that way, and I didn't want to mess with that line. Obviously, like I said earlier, I have the denitrification system. I wanted to keep a little space from the outside shower for privacy. I had the bathroom window above and below on the basement window. So if I went to back, as you see stated in the notes, this lot side is pretty much the size of a postage stamp. So we were hoping to have a little bit of a backyard to use, have a little bit of a solo stove out there, maybe play horseshoes or cornhole, which I'm horrible at, but something, a little bit of a backyard to enjoy. So that is why where we looked, let's go north, and that is why where that extra comes in.
Okay. Any other questions? The applicant, Mr.
Just need just some clarification, from counsel, if I may. Would you address 452430 briefly? Disability statute.
I think I know off the top of my head what you're referring to.
That's a disability statute?
I'm looking at...
It calls out 452430 paragraph 16.
Yep. Yeah. That is basically a disability that would qualify under the ADA, and we certainly don't need a doctor or a letter. I think everyone generally knows what spina bifida is. That's certainly a qualifying disability.
Spina bifida is the most common disability there is. I'm happy to show some pictures. She's a cute kid. But it is the most common neural tube birth defect in the United States.
So it doesn't preclude the fact that he still has to make a case for.
What it is normally on every application, the hardship has to be due to the land or structure,
right,
except in a case where, he, I don't think, has primarily relied on this, but he's mentioned in his testimony, the board can find that the hardship is due solely to the disability of his family member.
Okay.
So I just wanted to clarify, to the extent that Mr. Brown or anyone else is questioning, is there really a hardship? And that is separate from least relief necessary. But I just wanted to let you know, as a starting point, you can tick off that box potentially just based on the fact that the family member, that his daughter, has a disability.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Board members? Anything else to add?
No, just thank you very much.
Mr. Dupree, anything to add? Okay. So any discussion, any thoughts, ideas? I know Bo has mentioned potentially reducing the size because of lot coverage. So I don't know if that's a shared sentiment or if that's something that. Yeah, go for it, Ms. Walsh.
Yeah, Mr. Brown, you've got two concerns. One is the lot size, and the other is the location of the deck.
Yes, the deck's going to be 2 3/4 feet from the property line. Answering the handicap situation, he's requesting to go directly down, but you can also go directly down, take a right, make the staircase the same as you can the other way, and there's no hardship there because the staircase is there. I understand his hardship, but he's telling us he only can create it in one way, but in actuality you can create it in 2 ways. Or you can build a ramp. The deck is elevated, you may correct me, 3 or 4 feet off the ground.
But doesn't a ramp have to meet certain requirements? Like, it's not direct, it's...
Yeah, if I'm building, may I interject? I mean, to build the ramp, there's no need to build the ramp. I mean, it would be a lot more construction. It would be an overkill for this project.
More square footage.
Yeah.
Because you can't go straight. You have to go at a certain angle.
A ramp, I think, is going back. A ramp doesn't require a variance either, I don't believe, under the code.
That's correct.
Yeah.
It's exempt.
I still got to come out and put a ramp coming down. I mean, we're talking about I'm sorry. I don't mean to be rude, Mr. Brown, please. We're talking about a disability. This is an ifs and maybes. I'm trying to set something up. I hope she never has to use a wheelchair. Right now she uses Lostrian crutches, and I'm trying to make it easy. I don't have to. I don't have to have this house completely. It doesn't need ramp. It doesn't need a ramp, and I apologize. When it comes to my daughter and this disability, I get a bit emotional at times. So let me just take a breath for a second, please. Thank you. I apologize. We've been through some of these discussions before, updating some things at our house in New York, because like I said earlier, stated earlier for the record, our house is 120 years old, and those rules didn't exist back then. So going back to the conversation, a ramp is not going to be, we're not looking at a ramp. What we're trying to do is just make it easier coming in to the house and what she can maneuver for the future. And one of the reasons why is to make that deck bigger is because if you ever had to use assisted devices to walk, you need space. I'm a large human being. I need a little space. But when you have a walker that's in front of you, or if you have Lostrand crutches, your surrounding, right, your square footage becomes bigger. It's a 16 by 10 square foot deck that has to come down. And if I'm going to put another deck, obviously if we're going to eat out there, live out there, I need a little space, and I would love for it to be comfortable for everybody in my family to have that, especially my daughter. So she is going to be a little more space, hence why I'm going to need that more square footage. Now, I understand that the square footage is bigger, but if you remember for the record, right now that deck is already over its size for what's allowed. So I understand you were looking at 374, and maybe I have it wrong, and if I need to be quiet, please tell me, and I can walk away from the microphone.
I'm trying to find common ground, and one of the rationales, couldn't it be because they do have a large family, and to move down into that lawn space is a hardship? Because this is, for the whole family.
Yeah, I would say one of the questions I have, and I'm having a little bit of a difficult time just understanding the scale of the drawing, so if I mess something up, I apologize. But if you were to look at the northernmost property line, which is correct, that's your northern property line? There. This guy like that? Yeah. So if you have your northern property line and you were to offset 5 feet, which is what you would actually need if you were going to be coming from the bottom of the driveway to come up and then turn right, like Mr. Brown is talking about. That would be the required turning radius. If this were to be something that you'd want to think about from an ADA perspective, if you offset that line 5 feet to the south, then you have your stair run that would go continue to go south. You wouldn't have very much deck left anyway. So I think that this does make sense to me. I would say if you wanted to find common ground, the most northern you take the deck would be the width of the staircase that you would want that could eventually accommodate an overlaid ramp, and that would also have handrails and the required curbing on each side. So you kind of back out from where your ADA would be. So I think this makes a lot of sense to have it facing south or plan south. Yeah, plan south, because the moment that you make the staircase face plan west, which is what it currently faces, you're now talking about turning radius. And I know that we don't want to create a reality or even think up a scenario where a wheelchair is necessary. Sure. But if it ever becomes necessary, you're talking about turning radius.
That's reality, absolutely.
And if that's what you're trying to think of, you're really talking about a 5 foot offset line and then another run of stair. So that this, to me, it's like if you're trying to think of it with all these factors in mind and the characteristics of your family and what the intent of the project, I think if you wanted to strike a balance of the absolute smallest deck that you can possibly grant permission for, it should just be based off of the minimum width of that staircase. That's how I would think about it.
And right now your stairs are already sticking onto that side of the house. The stairs are already coming out into that walkway side of the house, right?
Yes.
Based on how it's drawn. So how did they, well, let me ask you this question. How did they get back there to dig your septic? Did they have to move the stairs?
No, it's open on the south side of my house. They came through the south side of my house.
Where that bush is?
Yep. They moved the bush. They got to come back and move it back because it's kind of leaning right now. But they took the bush out and they access it from there.
So they didn't even use that other side?
They didn't even use the other side.
Why?
They didn't need to.
Okay, because the other side was accessible?
Perfectly accessible.
And were the stairs in the way?
on this side, why they didn't want to, pardon me?
Like why?
They saw like the best way to get the access to the house was going through the south side of the house. Okay. It's wide open. It was perfect for the truck to come through.
Okay.
I can take the picture of the divots.
Yeah.
You probably saw them. Whoever was out there the last couple of days, you saw those divots in my dirt. I'm trying to cover up now.
Any other questions, board members? No? Okay.
Thank you.
So, any other sort of discussion? I know that we threw on the table, Mr. Brown threw on the table, modifying it, the proposed deck. Mr. Diamond made a good point that you do need more clearance. If a person pushing a chair were to turn, they need that person as well as the chair to turn. So you're going to need
5 feet.
That space to turn. So it's the stairs are already sticking out that side, so I don't feel it's an encroachment thing. And in terms of coverage, I don't know. I'm not sure what the coverage really is intended for per se. If it's a water thing or if it's what the real intent of it is, but it's a deck, and it seems like that it would be a lot more porous than if it were part of a building.
Yeah, I would distinguish lot coverage from pervious surface.
It doesn't have anything to do with it,
Yeah.
but okay. So, forget that. So I don't know. If we have more ideas about this. We want to try to make a motion. I don't know how folks are feeling, if this is going to make it through as proposed, or if we feel that to get the support, we're going to need to change it.
Mr. Chairman, I feel like the applicant has made a case that the hardship is a disability of his daughter. I have no problem at all with what he has submitted and what he has testified to. I think it's the least relief necessary for the fact that the hardship is a disability, is the disability of the applicant or the applicant's family. So I would certainly support the application as is, without change. And I think he's made the case that, he certainly testified and made the case that they need additional room. He has a large family. And that outside space doesn't bother me that it extends the lot coverage by 20%. There's no objection here from anyone, neighbors, anyone else. So I can support it as is.
Well, I don't have any problems with it. This is a small house. And there is a disability involved, and I would vote for it.
So,
we only need 4 votes. So.
Well, that's why I'm kind of asking. So does someone want to try to make a motion? Or does someone want to make a motion?
I'll do it.
Try. Sure. Certainly do it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This motion to approve the petition of James Gallagher, 163 Juniper Road in Wakefield. The dimensional variance is required because this is a non-conforming lot of record, and Section 207 requires a dimensional variance be approved, and Section 907 grants the standards of relief. The application was read into the record by the chairman. The documents were submitted and identified for the record. And what we're seeking here, what the applicant is seeking, is setbacks of 10 feet on the side, relief of 5 feet and 7 feet 4 inches is requested. And he's also requesting a 20% relief in the maximum lot coverage, because the total lot coverage will become 1,330 square feet, and the allowable coverage is 956. Mr. Gallagher testified on his behalf. No one else spoke in favor of the application, or certainly no one spoke in opposition to the request. The board finds that the hardship from which the applicant seeks relief is due to the physical and disability of the applicant's family member, based on the testimony that we have from the applicant. The board finds that the hardship is not the result of any prior action and does not result primarily from a desire to the applicant to realize greater financial gain because he intends to utilize the home for his large family and has no intention or did not testify to any intent to market or sell the property once the variance is granted. As it will certainly not alter the general character of the surrounding area or impair the intent or purpose of the zoning ordinance or a comprehensive community plan, because the deck exists already, but it needs repair, and he's enlarging it to make it much more convenient for the members of his family. It is certainly the least relief necessary, once again, because we have testimony that more space is needed for his daughter that does have a disability, and more space is needed for her to be able to function and for the large family to utilize the outside area during the summer months for eating and for recreation. The hardship, if we don't grant this, amounts to more than a mere inconvenience because, as I've stated, the extra space is needed to accommodate the disability, for one, and to accommodate the larger family. This is a small structure, and there is testimony that the kitchen area is small, the dining area is small, and this is used in the summer by the applicant, and it certainly will increase the ability of the applicant to enjoy the property to a greater extent. There are no conditions, and I move passage of the petition.
Thank you, Mr. Daniels. Is there a second? Second. Second, Mr. Rosen. Any other discussion? None? Mr. Daniels?
Aye.
Mr. Rosen? Aye. Mr. Brown? Mr. Cagnetta, aye. Ms. Walsh? I know I did mine wrong.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Good luck.
Very much to the board, and especially to Mr. Brown. You do a thorough job. So I appreciate your watching out after the community. And I mean that with all respect. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Enjoy your time here. Thank you for being here. So, finally, the petition of Chad Dupuy, thank you, 153 Juniper Road, Wakefield, Rhode Island, 02879, for a dimensional variance under the zoning ordinance as follows. The applicant is seeking to demolish a 6-foot by 15-foot deck and reconstruct a 12-foot by 27-foot deck.
Yes.
With a 12-foot by 12-foot L attached to the existing single-family dwelling. The proposed deck will be located 18 feet from the rear property line. The rear required setback is 30 feet, so he needs a 12-foot setback requested. The lot size is 0.34 acres. Dimensional variance is required per the zoning ordinance, section 207. Non-conforming lots of record, building setback requirements in section 907 are standards of relief. The owner of the property are Chad C. Dupuy and Karen R. Racine for premises located at 153 Juniper Road, South Kingstown. Assessors map 83-2, lot 241, and is zoned R30. For this, we have the application signed and dated May 11th, owner authorization form signed and notarized May 12th, an existing site plan 1 page, proposed site plan 1 page, and deck framing plan of 2 pages. And you are, sir?
Chad Dupuy. I'm the owner of 153 Juniper Road, along with my wife, Karen.
Okay, Mr. Dupuy, do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Right. And just spell your last name for us, please.
Dupuis.
All right. So what would you like to do?
Basically enlarge the deck. Right now it's only 6 feet, comes off the back of our house 6 feet, which is just a really small space. Right now, we just literally have a little table out there and 2 chairs, and it has to be pushed up against the house and walk around it. So in terms of room, we just don't have enough. Again, our house is pretty small. We don't even have a dining room. We have a counter that we can sit at in the kitchen, and again, the kitchen is pretty small, so we definitely love to utilize the outdoor space.
And so why not go, I don't know, directions here. Can you go towards the galleys at all? Like, do you really need that side yard, the backyard setback of the 18 feet? Is there any other?
Well, go? Yeah, because when you can't even walk around that deck right now when you have a table on it.
Right.
So you can't even move. You can't have a table on it and move around.
Well, I mean, you're asking for the 12 feet. Like, do you need the 12 feet?
I believe so. Yeah.
And for your sides, you're not getting any wider than the.
Not getting any. Yeah. No.
All right. Board members, questions?
No questions. I don't have any problem. He's squaring it off to be consistent with the house. So I don't. I mean, a 6-foot deck isn't much. He's going another 6 feet, and it makes it a more livable, more usable deck. I would say.
Yeah, I agree with Mr. McDaniels. That's you're only adding 6 feet. I mean, it's already non-conforming.
So yeah, it's at 24 feet now, and we're going an additional 6.
Yeah, or the
closer to the back lot line.
And 6.
And that's the only variance. The rest of them we're not going any closer to any sidelines.
And no concerns about access for anything on your property? You're not going to.
No.
You can still get around everything.
No, we have a triple lot, so we have it's partially fenced in with 2 gates to get in on either side of the property and get around back. We'll still be able to get around the back of that deck from either side.
Okay. Any other questions, board member?
Yes.
Mr. Rosen.
The fence, you've got 0.34 acres, right?
Yes.
Was that originally 2 properties that was joined to 1?
When we bought it, it was as is, so it was technically down there. They say like 3 lots. You know, it's a triple. They consider that a triple lot in that area.
All that land to the north is empty.
Well, there's trees there.
Yeah. Well,
yep.
And there's grass too.
Yep.
Why can't you go the deck to the north?
If you look at the plans, we are going to the north and then joining it with the side of the house. Because there's kind of on the back of the house, there's like a sunroom that sticks out, and then there's an L shape. So we're just wrapping it around that and connecting it to the house.
Why do you have to go to the back property line, which is to the east? To the east or the west?
I'm not sure of the directions.
I'm sorry. To the back of the property.
Yep.
You're looking for a variance of
an additional 6 feet from where it's at now.
Why can't you go in the northern direction instead of going to the west?
That's the door that walks out. So again, it's just you're walking out from the back of the house. You have a door that walks out there, and then you're just walking on to just like a small platform. So I think the additional space is needed.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any steps?
There's 1 step.
All the way around, or just on one side?
Right now, just on one side.
Which side?
I guess that would be the south side then.
By the shed?
No. Yeah, I'm not sure of the directions. If you're standing in the road facing the house, on the right-hand side.
Okay.
South side.
What is the distance from the deck to the shed?
says 6 feet.
From the deck to the shed.
The proposed deck, I guess. It looks like in really, really faint.
Yeah, I don't have that distance.
It looks like I see a 2 dimension, but I don't have very good vision, which is ironic for a guy who draws all day. But I think I see 2 foot something or another, just to the small one. And if that's the case, then that would mean that the edge of the shed that's closest to your house would be 12 feet then, right? So is that about 6 feet?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
I'm just trying to get a sense of
Yeah.
how would that space be
Yep.
between, like, can you like get around the shed? Is there, just in terms of
Yeah.
access and service, if you had to get from one side of your yard to the other with equipment or something, is that going to be a...
Yeah, I think there's enough room. There's enough room through there. Yeah.
Not for, the future of this site, just
Right.
whatever may happen. Just
Yep.
getting across the site is something you want to think about for access.
Okay.
Anybody else? Thoughts? Ideas? Questions? No problem. Anyone in the audience care to speak in behalf of this petition? You'd have to come up and swear yourself in. Would you continue to swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Galvin.
He needs a space. He has a big family that lives next door that likes to come visit for food. Please.
All right. Certainly take that into consideration. It could get a lot bigger, too, if you're...
I'm actually the youngest of 8 kids, so I do have a big family.
Anyone else care to speak on for this? No? Thank you very much. I think we're all set. Anyone want to try to give it a shot? Give a motion for Mr. Dupuy?
I'll do it if...
Go for it.
If Mr. Rosen doesn't want to do it and Mr. Brown is contemplating it, I'll go ahead.
Go for it.
Okay. And I'm quick. Not accurate, but quick. But the staff is accurate. Okay. I'd like to make a motion to approve the petition of Chad Dupuy and Karen A. Rancine for a dimensional variance under the zoning ordinance 207, nonconforming lots of record, building setback requirement, and section 907, standards of relief. Mr. Dupuy would like to demolish a current 6 by 15 foot deck and reconstruct the deck with a 12 by 12 L and reconstruct a 12 foot by 27 foot deck with a 12 by 12 L attached to the existing single family dwelling. This, the deck is already non-conforming. This would add an additional 6 feet to the size of the deck to the, the rear side of the rear property. So you would end up with 18 feet. Mr. Dupuy spoke as his own representative. A neighbor, James Gallagher, spoke in favor and support of the request. There were no individuals or no correspondence in opposition to the request. The materials have been entered into the record. The board finds that the hardship from which the applicant seeks relief is due to the unique characteristics of the subject land or structure and not to the general characteristics of the surrounding area, and is not due to a physical or economic disability of the applicant, excepting those physical disabilities addressed in 452430, section 16. Because the applicant seeks to have a patio that's long enough to put a table and a chair and use as an outdoor dining room. And he's hoping to fit, by doing the L, it fits the shape and squares off the house The board finds that the hardship is not the result of any prior action of the applicant and does not result primarily from the desire of the applicant to realize greater financial gain. Because Mr. Dupuis would like to have a large enough deck to be able to eat on and entertain, he has proposed a logical L shape. The board finds that the granting of the requested variance will not alter the general character of the surrounding area or impair the intent or purpose of the zoning ordinance or the comprehensive plan upon which the ordinance is based, because it is very suitable for the neighborhood. I think it's zoned residential 30, and it's normal in this neighborhood to have a deck to enjoy the outdoors. The board finds that the relief to be granted is the least relief necessary, because basically it's adding 6 feet, so the part of the deck that faces the rear property is usable. The board finds that the hardship suffered by the owner of the subject property, if the dimensional variance is not granted, does amount to more than a mere inconvenience, because it means he'd probably have to destroy that part of the deck and adjust the other way, and I think it would be more costly. There are no conditions to the approval.
Thank you, Ms. Walsh. Can I get a second? Second, Mr. Daniels. Any other discussion? Hearing none. Ms. Walsh?
Aye.
Mr. Daniels? Aye. Mr. Brown? Aye. Mr. Rosen? Aye. Mr. Cagnetta? Aye. Motion passes. Good luck. Thank you very much. You're welcome. Enjoy each other's company, because it sounds like you're going to have it. Okay, so other items, we have the approval of the May 18th, 2022. Can we get any changes, or anyone like to make a motion to approve that?
Move approval.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. And then we also have the May 25th minutes. Any changes or alterations?
Move approval.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. So we have the July 20th meeting is our next one. Everyone going to be here? From what we know? Susan will not. Okay. Kevin, you'll be here? Okay. July 20th. Yep. That third Wednesday messes me up, because this third Wednesday, the first Wednesday was on the 1st. So this is why we're so early this year. Or this month, rather. Yeah, I know. I screwed that up. And I'm sorry, I didn't. Are we electing officers again? Is that tonight?
Yeah, it's on the agenda to do it.
Do we need?
You don't have to do it tonight.
Okay. So how do we do it? Do someone make a motion? Someone makes a motion to nominate people for such positions, and we're filling the vice chair and the chairman positions. No others. You guys are all set. We don't have to change your positions. No. So anyone want to nominate someone to be chair for here on forward?
I'm going to nominate Rob.
You can do that. Second. Okay. All in favor? Aye. Aye. No opposed? Vice, Mr. Daniels? Anyone object? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye? That was my motion. Sorry. I nominate Mr. Daniels. Aye. Unless you want to switch, but that's too late. All right. So, okay. So we good for our chair?
Just quick housekeeping. The town council will soon be considering an amendment to the zoning ordinance, just allowing you to have a third alternate. The legislation authorizing that was signed into law. Now, just as a housekeeping matter, we're going to have that in the zoning ordinance. There's also a charter provision referencing the number of members, but it's my opinion that is superseded by the enabling, by the amendment to the enabling law. So we don't need to worry about the charter yet. The third alternate can be seated as soon as the council approves that amendment. And just as a reminder, I'll be in touch with Jamie and Jess about this, but we're coming up on that July 1st effective date for the new state wetlands regs. So sometime soon, we're going to see a decreased volume, at least on the, we're not going to be seeing those OWTS special use permit applications anymore.
And is that going to make that one continued application moot?
So next month, the Sharp petition was continued to July.
Yeah.
We're automatically going to continue it that meeting because Susan won't be here.
Yeah.
So it's going to get moved to August, but it's on the July agenda.
Yeah.
Just,
So,
but Mr. Rosen is recused, so you're not here and he's not here. Yeah.
so we can discuss that issue when it actually comes up to be heard. I don't want to discuss it tonight.
No, okay. That's fine. It sounds like that won't have anyone objecting anyway.
Are we going to get a third alternate?
Well, we can.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Oh, so moved. All in favor?
Second.
Aye. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you, Kevin, for joining us. Yeah, it's very welcome to have your perspective and expertise. So always.
But
Always.
you're going to get to vote next time.
Yeah. Nope. No, I've proved over and over there are no stupid questions. So I've